Hello, my name is Marcus. I'm the compiler of a collection of therapy quotes
It
entitled
must be something
1001 Windmills of the
psychological.
Mind, something very psychological.
It may be something very physical
1001
that makes
Windmills
me
of the
feel
Mind,
the way I do
a collection of
whenever I'm in
10,000
touch with you.
thoughts, insights, considerations
I think it's something
to help
strange and
us make us more
mystical.
conscious and aware of ourselves.
It might be something very chemical.
It's really quite explainable. Um, the song in the background you're hearing is called "It Must Be Something Psychological" by the folk singer Katie Lee, and so she's curious about why she's attracted to a certain fellow. Is it pheromones? Is it hormones? Is it in the stars? Is it some fortune-telling thing or some karmic thing, or what is it? It's really quite explainable. He's unattainable. It's really quite explainable. The mother was emotionally unavailable, unattainable, so that's unresolved, unfinished, imprint, frozen, unresolved. She'll find a man with the personality of her mother to resume that issue. It's psychological. It's really quite explainable.
What is this force between us two that makes
Okay, what is this force? That's called repetition compulsion. The force is the compulsion, the constraint, the compulsion to repeat. Because when there's trauma, that seems to be the mechanism with the system to get a better outcome for the past, because that part of the brain doesn't know time, but the needs are still there. No time, but the needs are still there, like a compulsion. The needs are there, but so there's no time. So all time is that time. The present's still the past, basically. Or we, due to the compulsion to repeat it, because there is time, that means we transfer the past issue to the present. And the present is called the presenting past, where we transfer the past to the present. And the present is like a new edition, a reenactment of the past. Still fighting with the mother, still waiting to get mother's love. It's really quite explainable. Paul Levy Russell says that trauma and repetition compulsion, just think of them as synonymous, he says. So we have some key quotes by the author, Paul Levy Russell, 2119. And it goes from there, like around 10 videos from that.
gravitate to you. I know you're not my ego ideal, you're unlike my father or brother, but the way I feel does not become a sister, a pal, or a mother. Still, it must be something psychological. It may be something very physical that makes me feel the way I do whenever I'm in touch with you. It's something psychological.
So she may have the conscious wish not to like this fellow. She may consciously know that she doesn't want an emotionally unavailable man kind of thing. She may consciously say to herself that she would never want to marry a man with her mother's personality. But why is she so drawn to the person? Why is she so attracted? Um, well, it must be something psychological then.
I know you're not my ego ideal, you're unlike my father or brother, but the way I feel does not become a sister, a pal, or a mother. My yearning's really quite explainable. I want you 'cause you're unattainable. Just let me get my hands on you, and then I'll want somebody new. With me it's psychological.
Okay, so the interpersonal leads to the intrapsychic. The baby has an interpersonal relationship with their mother, and that's going to lead to some kind of endopsychic structure, intrapsychic structure, famously known as the schemata, the schema, the blueprint, the template, the stencil, some kind of internal working model that's laid down by, according to the relationship with the mother. So he has a deep impression about himself and the world. The mother is the world for the baby, himself in relation to the world, and how he feels about it, and how he copes, and how did he survive with the mother. He developed all kinds of strategies called defense mechanisms. That's all set in there. There could be soul fragmentation, where the trauma is going to be compartmentalized. So now he won't even link the feeling to the trauma because the feeling will be detached from the knowledge of the trauma. So the knowledge of the trauma will be in one bin. That's the scarecrow, no brain, can't think of no brain. Tin Man, no feelings. Um, and then the person's going to feel disembodied. So there's a memory, a bunch of memories going on, and they're kind of set in. Some people call it the complexes. I don't know about that phrase. Um, I'm with Robert Bly. I don't like that phrase either. It just means like a condensation of a theme of emotions around a certain theme. Um, but yeah, we do use the word complex, something like the Faust complex, like that. So that can be in this model that the child have to identify with the aggressor, make the Faustian deal, the Faustian pact, the Faustian bargain, the Faust complex, i.e., identification with the aggressor. So that could be in the model where the child couldn't unblend from the mother, becomes the mother. Okay? So that could be going on in the mind. Now, if that's the case, how does he repeat his cry for love if he's the mother says no to him? Then he's got to find proxies to stand in for him. Okay? And then he's the mother who says no to him. So he finds others to play him, role play him, evocation of a proxy, scapegoating, emotional triangle. Okay. Um, okay. The repetition is the baby cry for love, mother says no. But if in the mind the baby had to cross over because of too much pain, one way to cope with the pain with the mother is the baby becomes the mother, known as the famous Faustian bargain, etc. So that means in the repetition compulsion, he cries for love. The mother says no, but he's the mother who says no to himself. How's that going to work? Well, he's going to repress the pain of himself. Now, when there's pain, there's repression. When there's repression, there's projection. So to keep it repressed, that he's shaming himself, he doesn't want to know that he's shaming himself, but he is shaming himself. He is hating himself. It's repressing it, repressing it, repressing it. Okay, now the way to repress it, and at the same time, when something is repressed, is projected. So, so the way he's going to repeat the Faustian deal is that he'll find proxies to stand in for him. Imagine that they need mother's love, and they're the mother who says no to them. Since the proxies them, they're the no mother to them, and they replay what had happened. The original, what had happened is the baby cried for love, mother said no. He becomes the no mother, shaming himself. Since the proxy is now him, he's the no mother. The behavior is he's shaming the proxy, thinking the proxy is him. That allows him to repress and make him unaware of the pain that he's shaming himself, the way the mother shamed him because he's the shaming mother who shames himself. Faustian deal. He's got mother's power, he's got mother's agency, but he's got to shame himself, i.e., sell his soul. Okay, so that's repressed, it's projected. Repetition compulsion, the proxy can cry for love, he'll shame the proxy, and he's repressing and shaming his soul. So one famous old song said, he needs somebody to hate so he doesn't hate himself. He needs somebody to shame so he doesn't shame himself, etc. Okay, so this is part of the repetition compulsion. So the repetition compulsion, a quick image for it is the record, the 45 disc record, the vinyl. Um, so Edmund Bergler has this metaphor that every neurotic is a music enthusiast, but he only has one record, which he carries with him everywhere he goes. Every time he sees a turntable with never-ending fiery ardor, he says, he spins off that his only one tune. He spins off that one tune. The cry for love, let's call it. He cried for love, mother said no. So new situations, new people, new interaction, new place, new job, whatever, new important situation. He's going to reel off, play that only tune. Meaning in the present, he's going to reenact, stage that what's pressed on that 45 record. Get the recording. He cried for love, mother said no. But in the Faustian deal one, he's the no mother. He starts off playing the no mother. So he's got to find proxies to reel off his tune with. So others will stand in for him. He'll play the shaming mother. Okay, that's repetition compulsion. He cries to love, mother says no. So he wants to say no to himself. It's too painful all the time. So he wants to find someone else um, to play that on his behalf, called proxy. So he's going to get the other person to stand in for him, crying for love. So the other person is him crying for love. Aha, he's the no mother, says no to him, but the other person is him, so he says no to them, thinking them is him. That's part A of it all. And so the part A is that he's loyal to the repetition compulsion. He's got an innate drive for healing. He's got a cry for love, but he doesn't want to directly cry for love. He can't cry for love anymore. It's too much pain to cry for love directly, but he is, but it's so repressed, it's projected. So now the proxy is crying for love on his behalf. That's how he gets in touch with how he's crying for love. When the proxy is crying for love, that's his understanding that he's crying for love. It's a projection. Projection means something about you too painful to know. So you say others, you attribute it to others, you think others have it. To make you know that it's with them. Okay, so he is crying for love through the projection, evocation of a proxy. The proxy character is holding his projected traits of needing to cry for love. So now he's crying for love like this. He made the Faustian deal, so he says no to him, but the proxy is him, same kind of thing. Now, as he's doing this, so A, he's loyal to the repetition compulsion. The proxy played him, so he's got to repeat every 45, every new situation, repeat, infinite loop, infinite loop. So he's going to repeat this thing all the time. Okay. Now part B is because the baby and the mother are one in the mind. They're fused, flipped over. They're still merged. They're still symbiotic. Participation, mystique, merged, oneness. Okay, there's still a oneness between the baby and the mother, psychologically speaking. The baby thinks the mother's psychology is his psychology. The two psychologies mesh as one big psychology, and all that's him. See, and so he thinks the whole psychology of the two is just all his, called narcissism, like that. So everything's about him. He thinks everything's him and all about him, like that. But he'll play that. But there's the passive active, right? The victim aggressor sort of embedded in that. So he'll play the active side because that's the theory about identification to the aggressor being a defense mechanism. It gives him some sense of anticipation, it gives him some narcissistic pride because he's going to shame himself. So the baby, instead of just being passive, being victimized by the gaslighting, double binding mother who's impaired, who can't love, who needs to shame her baby because she's loyal to her mother who had shamed her because she's repeating likewise. Or she's trying to remember that she had been shamed. So in the mother's attempt to remember that she had been shamed, she may shame her baby in an effort to remember that she had been shamed. But since she doesn't remember, she repeats. So when we don't remember, we repeat. When you remember, we stop repeating. Mother doesn't remember she had been shamed. So in an effort to try to remember, she shames the child. So meanwhile, the child is not getting his needs met like this. Okay, so the fusion is there. The fusion is the self and the other are all considered one in the mind. So back to the baby. When the baby identifies as the aggressor, he plays the shaming mother when he shames himself. The proxy plays him, so he shames the proxy playing him. Now the truth is, part B, the truth is, he really is angry at the mother for all this. So how's that going to work? How's he going to express his anger at his mother if he is the mother? Okay, in that mind, in that baby's mentation, okay, the mentation is called primary process mentation, primary process thinking. This kind of mentation or unconscious thinking or dream world thinking or Never Never Land, Alice in Wonderland, myth and fairy tale world thinking, this kind of mentation, there's no like conscious logic, there's no reasonable normal logic. There's no time. There's not even any proper sense of space even, they think. So now you got, and the key feature is things can flip-flop and shape-shift and morph and twist, and that could be that can turn into that. Okay, the princess can turn into a swan and fly away, things like that. So in the primary mentation, things can flip around. It's House of Mirrors, that can represent that can stand for that. Things can blend together to make a new thing. You got this wild, magical kind of ish appearing kind of scenario, so-called beta elements or something. So there's no like cause and effect, and everything's true because since there's no time, what it is for that moment, that's what it is. Next moment, that's what it is for that moment. So they don't think about the minute ago moment. They're just what it is in that moment. There's no sense of time. Just like an iguana or an animal doesn't know time. They don't really think about time like that. So everything is just a constant eternal now or something. So that part of the brain is considered timelessness. So in the Faustian deal, for example, the you live forever. Well, that means that you're making reference to that part of the brain that doesn't understand time. So if you don't understand time, if that part of the brain doesn't understand time and your energy's in there, and that's driving you kind of thing, like a puppet master, well then you live forever from that kind of sense, and you can do it your whole life kind of thing. Okay, so the baby becomes the mother who shames himself. The proxy plays him, he shames the proxy. Part A. Part B. How does he express his anger to his mother if he is the mother? Okay, now that very same proxy that first played him, at the same time, on another level, the one he's shaming was playing his soul. At the same time he's shaming that innocent person, he thinks the victim, the person he's victimizing, is the aggressive mother hurting him. Now he's angry at his mother, whom he just simultaneously sees as his soul. It's wild, right? So so that's the famous idea about those the bully pattern, right? They scare people and they act like that they're dangerous all of a sudden, and then they're so the bully's innocent, um, and the victim is the dangerous one. Okay, so they're projecting themselves. So the traumatized baby feels no good. Mother's dangerous, so they think everyone's no good and dangerous. They haven't differentiated from the mother, and so there's an issue like that. I've been on one of those complex tours, yeah. So another song by Katie Lee is a Shrinker Man, but the complex tour. So if the baby does cross over and make this Faustian bargain, he's on a complex tour called Identification with the Aggressor or the Faust Complex. That's a complex tour. Jesus Christ, eh? And so that means he's got mother's power, the sense that he's not going to be the passive victim. But if he's the one who hurts himself, he feels some kind of agency. He feels some kind of importance, some kind of narcissism, some kind of power or something. If he hurts himself, rather than just let the mother hurt him. So he's got to protect his remaining fragments of narcissism that all babies must have. All babies must have some basic narcissism, meaning it's all about them. They've got no sense of self yet. They've got no authentic self yet. Their beingness, the embodiment, that's not there. That comes later on. In the beginning, it's just all narcissism. Um, just a dreamy kind of thing, I guess. Shrinker Man, Shrinker Man. Let's play our other Katie Lee song here called Shrinker Man.
Shrinker man, put me straight if you can. Free me of my tics and twitches, disconnect my latent switches, Shrinker man. Shrinker man, wise me up if you can. Air my problems and excuse me, sympathize and unconfuse me, Shrinker man. I've been on one of those complex tours. I want you to make my problems yours. Now give me one of them cut-rate cures, Shrinker man. Shrinker man, set me right if you can. Align me, tune me, normalize me, clean me up and simonize me, Shrinker man. Shrinker man. Shrinker man. Shrinker man.
I've been on one of those complex tours. So she's stuck with the complex called the mother complex, but it's much more than the mother complex. She's become the mother, you know. That means she's got to hate goodness. She'll be filled with envy, you know. And in the Snow White story, that means like the wicked queen was trapped in her mirror, and when the daughter comes on the scene, the mother's not available to mirror her child because she's stuck with unmet needs for mirroring herself, and she's trapped with that issue of not being seen and mirrored by her mother. So the daughter comes on, mother, I need your mirroring. I need you to see me. And it's like the baby wants to see himself reflected through his mother's eyes, and that's how he understands himself, kind of just soothing and mother's presence, and mother's sees the child, hears the child, feels the child, recognizes the child, accepts the child, is present for the child, has the delight and esteem for the child, positive regard for the child. yeah, and so on. Comfort, sweetness, warmth, tenderness, sweetness, warmth, safety, blissful safety, kindness, warmth, delight, acceptance. That builds them, that feeds them like that. So something simply called mirroring is part the main, um, basically synonymous, I think. So if the child comes on, mother, I need your mirroring. What are you talking about? She's trapped in her mirror with unmet mirroring from her mother. Now, the mother makes the Faustian deal to stay trapped in her mirror with her mother. Okay, the mother was shamed herself. Okay, the mother herself, when she was a baby, thought that her mother, the grandmother, hated the child's goodness. It's called envy. Now, so when the mother crossed over and identified with the envy breast, the envy mother, the envier, to have a mother, she's got to hate goodness. So the child comes on and sees, oh, you have goodness. Well, I can't leave the mirror. I'm trapped in the, like Narcissus looks at the pool of water, he's transfixed like that. I can't leave that, she says. So to stay there, I gotta treat you the way my mother treated me. My mother hated my goodness. I gotta hate your goodness, called envy. So the middle one has a daughter that says, "You've got goodness. Um, the only way for me to feel safe," she thinks, "is to hate goodness." But the daughter comes on the scene and has basic goodness. Well, she can't betray her mother. She can't leave that mirror. So she's got to hate goodness to stay connected to her mother like that. So this daughter, likewise, she has to go into the forest and go in a coma in a glass box kind of thing. So there's a lot of ideas about Snow White. But, yeah, where was I going with that one? Well, anyways, we have soon we'll be doing a three video special run on the fairy tale Snow White, about the queen and the prince and the dwarfs and the laces and the comb and the apple. We'll cover all that material coming up. I did a preview of it already about 2 weeks ago, but when I get, I've got like a sort of a backlog of quotes. Um, I'm still sort of playing catch up, so we'll get there. You know, the Faust tour. Yeah. So the mother can't mirror the daughter. So that daughter likewise will identify with the aggressor. So with identification with the aggressor, the child gets mother's power, right? That preserves some of his esteem, narcissistic esteem. So he'll whatever the child does to survive with the mother, it's always in the context of what can preserve his esteem, narcissistic esteem. Burglar makes that point too, right? So a simple way of saying it is, I saw a sitcom, a very depressing sitcom, um, where the father hits the poor little girl, and then the daughter anticipates the father's going to hit her, so she runs, gets the wooden spoon, hits herself. So she feels, I'm doing it. I'm an important one. I got agency. I'm going to do it. You're not going to be a victim of you doing. At least I do something. So she's preserving her narcissism. Like a very sad kind of scene like that. It's so disturbing. All these sitcoms are so filled with such hostility constantly. Unbelievable. It's just nonstop, man. See, all this nonstop cynicism, hostility, domestic abuse, and endless jokes about corporal punishment for the children. Just nonstop abuse, verbal, emotional, psychological, just constant, basically. My goodness, like why is that like that? You know. So, um, in the past couple of videos, oh boy, you're not really hearing it too much, but my new phone that I'm using here now blots out background noises. But there's a full-on construction project going on, just sort of right beside me. But you don't really hear it, right? So I kind of talk loudly to talk over it a bit. Um, so on the playback, you won't hear the construction, but I hear it full on, kind of thing. But but I'm outdoors, so I got a breeze here. Jeez, I can see the sky, the tree, some flowers. You know, um, so sometimes I take a break. um, the Snow White. So we're gonna be doing a string of quotes on the fairy tale Snow White coming up. I've been on one of those complex tours.
Shrink.
Whoa, whoa! What happened here? Oh, son of a gun! Oh, Jesus! I got such a fickle. Gee, I'm using this sort of dollar speaker, and it's got such a fickle connection. My goodness, what happened there?
Man, shrinker man, put me straight.
Okay, here we go. Shrinker Man by Katie Lee.
Shrinker man, put me straight if you can. Free me of my tics and twitches, disconnect my latent switches, shrinker man. Shrinker man, wise me up if you can. Air my problems and excuse me, sympathize and unconfuse me, shrinker man. I've been on one of those complex tours. I want you to make my problems yours. Now give me one of them cut-rate cures, shrinker man. Shrinker man, set me right if you can. Align me, tune me, normalize me, clean me up and simonize me, shrinker man. Shrinker man. Shrinker man.
So the child pays a huge cost, of course, to make the Faustian deal. He pays a huge cost. Um, Development, forget it. They'll be addicted, playing mother shaming themselves. Oh yeah, okay. So why is there so much hostility in these TV shows all the time? So we recently did a quote by Edmund Berger, one of our mentors, Edmund Berger, excellent author, um, and he kind of simplifies kind of a basic. Sounds what I'm going to say sounds very simple, very simple. Um, so maybe it'll be updated. Maybe I'm missing something, but he said that Mr. Freud, used a metapsychological a prop, when he talked about eros thanatos. He meant it as a teaching aid, a broad psychological prop, like something to help to talk about something. You got to use parables and metaphors, analogies and jokes, and you can't. There's no perfect way to describe something invisible like that. So he used those terms just as a prop. Now the eros part, it kind of makes sense because the child's life force, all of the child's life force is to reach mother. Mother, hi there, where are you, mother? I'm looking for you, mother. I want a connection with you, mother. I need a rhythm of safety. I need you to see me, soothe me, and be there for me. So all the child's energy is to reach for the mother. Life force is object seeking, Fairbairn's main line. Now, anger is an expression of unmet needs. So if the needs were not met, if the baby doesn't get those needs, and now he's screaming and crying and all this. But it's still towards the mother as a communication that the mother didn't meet the baby's needs. He was improperly loved. He's angry like that. So the energy and the screaming is going to the mother. And what if the mother is needs to shame her baby because she's trying to remember that she had been shamed? B, A, it's A. B, she doesn't have the ability to love because she doesn't have the psychic structure to love, i.e., a sense of beingness and a sense of authentic ontological self to love the baby. She can't love the baby. She doesn't have the psychic structure to love the baby. And so she's shaming the baby to try to remember that she's been shamed. She doesn't have the ability to love, i.e., she's impaired. And maybe she expects the baby to take care of her, so she's going to parentify the baby. Mother thinks she's entitled to get supply from the baby. Or maybe the mother wants to show up and expose her mother to the world, by treating the baby badly to communicate that that's what happened to her, to expose the mother and to show up the mother that's what happened to her, as if to say, as if the mother's saying to the world, look at what my mother did to me. I'm going to show it to you. I'll demonstrate it. Here's my baby. That was me. I'll play the shaming mother. My baby's innocent. I shame my baby. That's what happened to me. My mother shamed me. I'm showing you. I'm exposing you. I'm doing it to show my mother. Where did I learn this? Mother taught me this. She's trying to show. She's expressing her anger like this. Okay, so this poor baby is always screaming and angry. Stop this, mother. What are you hurting me for? I'm not your mother. You want me to take care of you? I can't do that. I'll try. I'll fail. I feel guilty, and you'll be angry, and I'll be angry. Um, Mother, you think I'm your mother who hurt you and you're angry at me? I'm not your mother. Back down. Are you psychotic? Um, so that's called the secret psychotic phenomenon. The mother is covertly psychotic, thinking the baby's her mother, whom she's angry at. She transfers her anger at her mother onto the baby, now thinking now the baby's her mother. So they're a little bit psychotic like that. Poor baby's freaking out here. Mother, Jesus Christ. Um, you're not meeting my needs. That's one thing. I'm communicating. That's part two. And then you shame me for my communicating, and you're blaming me for my communicating that you didn't meet my needs, and you interpret my anger as me criticizing you the way your mother criticized you. What's going on? So that all this anger is hitting up like a wall now into the river. So his energy is bumping up onto a bank or something, right? Because the mother doesn't accept it, or she gaslights, double binds, shames, punishes, rejects. Okay, she can't. She's not in a place to understand the baby's signals. She doesn't have the spirit to comfort the baby. She's too bitter. She's too resentful to give love when she had never received it herself. So the child's anger is kind of bumping up from the child to the mother, but hits a wall like that. So now you got this river that's going to bounce back in on itself, and it's going to loop and rebound inwardly. Now this energy and anger is going inward, right? It hits a wall, goes inward. Okay, now this inward flow, there's going to be two parts here. So the body's going to hold some of it. That'll lead to a psychosomatic symptom. So psychosomatic symptoms reveal and conceal that original cry and scream to the mother. Okay, so the images, the old jargon was conversion. Just as how water can convert into an ice cube, okay, the feelings that can't flow like water can focus into some organ or organ system, and it's overflooded, it's too much, and then the organ goes kaput, so kind of hardened, and then it's pain from that. The pain is still the cry. It just got detoured, right? So Capek says that the psychosomatic symptoms are mainly the crying, the scream to the mother just went inward and through the body. Now the body's in pain, and that pain of the body is still the crying. It's still the baby crying through the pain. The pain is the cry still. So it's still going on so the body's gonna bear this and hold this like that. That's one way the rebounding inward anger is turning in. Sarno says back pain is your rage at your mother. It's still going on. Hypertension, stuff like that. Okay, that's now there's not an either or. There's going to be a both down here. So that's one part. The other part of it is um, the body can only take so much. You can only somatize, quote unquote, somatoform it or something. You can only hold it in the body for so long. So um, it seems to be if there's if there's too much going on, if there's too much inward rebounding of the child's anger going inward, like if it's too much like that, then he's got to develop a psychic structure to allow him to disperse the intensity of the rage of the mother sideways, to disperse it onto others, like thirds, or even the world, anybody, right? Okay, so that'd be like the Faust one, for example. Okay, so um, because in the Faust one, the others play him whom he shames, then he sees the other as his mother, and he gets his anger on his mother. You see, so the baby is meant to anger to the mother, but she rejects it. The anger turns inward. Okay, then it's trying to come out somehow. Some body takes some of it, the rest of it goes out, kind of thing. But it goes sideways onto some innocent other person. That's what Berger says Freud meant with the Thanatos. It's destructive um, because you don't even care who it is anymore. You can assign your mother onto anybody, anywhere, anytime. It doesn't care because you got a pressure cooker phenomena going on. You got to blow off steam. You don't care that some innocent person is not your mother. You just want to get you just want to get it out like that, the pressure cooker thing. So that outward, like that sideways outward thing, is very destructive, of course. And then he said, "Is that some kind of?" But he said, "No, it's not an instinct. It's not. It's not like. Don't take it literally like an actual biological instinct." He just tried to say um, that that the baby wants to eros, love with the mother. Mother rejects it. Now the anger going sideways, being destructive. That's all it is. So eros, life. Okay, Thanos. He just wanted to initiate an awareness of the river flow, right? So the positive, negative, like that. But it's not an innate biological instinct like that. It's just the baby's angry at his mother. It's too tense, so it disperses on sideways onto whoever, kind of thing. And that dispersing of your anger onto everybody or anybody or whatever, that's destructive like that. But it's not an instinct to be destructive. It just has that effect. So it seems to be that a lot of these angry TV shows, like the Archie Bunkers and all these crude, vulgar kind of characters, they're just constantly verbally shouting at the top of their lungs, violently, verbally abusive most of the time. I don't know how people can watch that stuff. Unbelievable. Well, the theory, the idea, I'm guessing the idea is that other people can vicariously blow off steam through them. So those actors are saying, you're doing everybody a favor. Just shout as much as you want because others want to shout, but they can't shout. You shout for them. People feel a little relief. That means people watching it want to be like that, or wish they could shout or something like that. So they're expressing anger. They're expressing anger for others, but it's not. It's a dirty anger. It's not like a clean anger where you communicate your feelings and identify and make an I statement. You don't see any of these characters ever making a basic I statement. Darling, when that happened, that reminded me of my childhood. I had a need in my childhood. I had a need for connection and safety and communication and rapport. And I remember as a child that didn't take place. And I remember as a child feeling kind of scared and angry. And those feelings have come up now, stimulated or triggered by the little thing you did in the present. The little thing you did in the present doesn't cause me to be so angry, but it reminded me of a time in the childhood when I was angry but buried it. So what you did was just a catalyst to bring up the past stuff. So the past stuff was at a need, unmet, felt angry, and I want to share this kind of data with you. And then I want to know how are you hearing this? A little validation and empathy would be nice, kind of thing. So you're sharing this vulnerability like that, um, because if you don't articulate it, it's just gonna act it out, kind of act out or out act. Oh yeah, the term is act out or act in. So if you're acting in, the body bears the burden, right? If you act out, you're like those shows, you're shouting at people. Or you could, of course, there's sublimation. You can join those construction people and do the banging. I was here on Sunday. It was nice and quiet. Jesus. I'm doing this on a Thursday, right? Thursday afternoon. Okay, that quote about the water diversion thing. Okay, we're going to call it Freud's metapsychological prop. Okay, I thought that was kind of the way he put it was helpful, I thought. So we discussed that already in the past couple of videos as a preview, and it'll be coming up in the pages when we get there. Okay, let's finish up the complex tour. She's been on one of those complex tours. I want to make it yours, Shrinker Man. Say abracadabra. Okay, so the song is just a parody. It's just a joke that healing your soul is not like sending in your car to the mechanic and the mechanic fixes it and you're very passive like that. You don't understand what's going on. It's not like that. It's the opposite. We got to understand ourselves and know what's going on. We have to be our own mechanic. We have to be our own soul mechanic. We have to repair our own. We have to be a psychological detective, emotional detective, existential detective. Look for patterns. Look at how we are repeating. as a message from us to us, a communication or a letter from us to us, our inner child of the past to us, our unconscious self to our conscious self. Okay, so the unconscious self, everything about you that you don't know, that's repressed, buried, denied, disavowed, disassociated, didn't get a chance to blossom, but it's potentially there. Everything about you, that your potential, your gifts, your treasure, everything about you that you're not aware of. Okay, you bundle it all up, you put it together, make a character. It's called your double self, your secret self, your shadow self, your shadow soul, your secret, the stranger like that. It's the one who walks with you, who's not like you, who is you. Someone's living my life, I know nothing about him. Okay, that's just a um, literature uses this idea of the double um, to get you in touch with your disowned traits. And you want to dialogue with the double. So our linked essay here is Otto Rank. Otto Rank's essay simply called The Double. He bases it on an old play called The Student of Prague. Some guy bumps into some stranger kind of guy, not knowing that the stranger is him. It's a metaphysical science fiction fantasy story. He meets this other guy. That other guy is everything about him that he doesn't know. He's supposed to befriend himself. He never made the link. He got into a fight with his own double, hurt the double, he was hurt. And on the tombstone it said, "Here's a guy who never got to know himself," something like that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. So the message is for the viewer or the reader. It was also made as a silent film back in 1920 something. The message for the viewer is, um, that's your double self. You have a double self. You have an unconscious self. Well, befriend it, reclaim it, re-own it, get to know it, dialogue with it. Like Phantom of the Opera thing. The lady dialogues with the scary dude. The scary dude is not an external character. It's a personification of her trauma, her rage, her anger, her wounds, and all that. There's a lot of wisdom there. So she's dialoguing with herself. And when she reclaimed what she saw, what she learned, she listened to herself. She listened to her wounded self like that. And then she was more whole, healing and wholeness. When you're more whole, she's more complete. Then when she sang, she was a better singer because she was more connected with her beingness, the more feelings. She was a better singer with more feelings. Some singers have a very hollow kind of a hollow sound. They're in tune and all that, but something's hollow, right? But some singers, you really feel the feeling in their singing, right? So she was a better singer because she got back her feelings like that. And there's another old film called That Uncertain Feeling. Um, so the lady had a symptom and all that, went to the shrinker man. Shrinker man, wise me up if you can. He said, "Oh, that's your stranger trying to get in touch with you." My stranger? Would you like to meet him? Oh, she joked and said, "I'm afraid of strangers." That's about it. Okay, the next scene was she bumped into her double self, this tortured artist kind of guy. Knowledgeable, wise artist, eccentric artist, but he's brooding, he's depressed like that. But the idea was that's a picture of everything about her that she doesn't know. That artist guy was basically everything about her that she doesn't know. So she befriended the artist, and the whole film was the dialogue between her and the artist. And it's kind of like the Phantom of the Opera idea. And then at the end, and sure enough, at the end of the story, um, he went away. She felt better. Her symptoms went away, kind of thing. Saturday, the Twilight Zone episode Saturday, has a slight reference, has a partial reference to the double motif. Also, the prelude called um, "Nervous Man in a $4 Room," Twilight Zone. I've been talking about the Twilight Zone for the past 2 months. We've discussed 12, I think 12 episodes so far. Gabe's story, Wong's Lost and Found Emporium, Memphis, Take My False Life Please, To See the Invisible Man, the Doberman Pinscher one called Shadow Play about the nightmare, looping Groundhog Day nightmare, and, and some fun ones too, A Penny for Your Thoughts, a funny one. Yeah, What Can She Type, another funny one. Um, I'm not, a little bit. So in the last video, I posted the top 5 Twilight Zone episodes. If you want to find out what they are, kind of refer to the last video, um, maybe about an hour in or something. I listed the top 5 Twilight Zone episodes for your consideration, of course. And I'm only basing, on the shows that I've seen so far. I haven't seen the complete thing all in, but roughly 1 out of 10 of those episodes are quite good. Um, so Twilight Zone, these are self-contained plays, speculative fiction, in a self-contained little place. So one episode could be, um, like a time travel thing. Another episode could be, um, an alien comes on in a science fiction alien thing. Um, Another one can be like a domestic abuse one, like the Doberman picture one. Another one could be like a historical thing. You know, um, so they're all self-contained plays. There's no, it's not like a continuous. You know, so I won't do it this time, but yeah. So I could spend 10 hours talking about the Twilight Zone. It's Rod Serling's 100th birthday. If he were alive today, he'd be 100 years old. A lot of people are talking about his birthday. So I posted the top 5, I think. We've talked about the Forbidden Planet a fair bit. 1956 science fiction film, The Forbidden Planet. The whole planet's a machine that's code for your unconscious because it can poof your thoughts. Like you can see your thoughts. So that means the monsters of the id, those angry monsters, that was a picture of your anger, but it's within. If you don't know that it's within, you project it, say others are dangerous. So the anger is turned into a dangerous creature to know that you're angry. If you don't know that you're angry, you say others are dangerous. What the hell? So the point of the film is to make you realize it's within. Id monsters, monsters of the id. So we discussed, that's a 2-hour discussion there. And then the very important follow-up, the Star Trek people did a tribute to Forbidden Planet. Season 3 of the original series with Spock and all that, called Requiem for Methuselah. It's an update tribute, and they added an important point about the triangle, the love triangle. So that's another 2-hour discussion. Okay, we finished with the identification with aggressors. That's a term by Sandra Frenzy. So traditionally it's called the Faust complex and all this, but Sandra Frenzy gave it a term for it called identification with the aggressor. The baby's going to identify with the aggressor. Mother's the aggressor, that'll be me. I'll be the aggressor. What about him? He sells his soul like this. And to have the aggressor, he's got repetition compulsion. He's got to shame himself to have the mother's power. Well, that's the huge price he pays. So he minimizes the anxiety. If he can kind of anticipate that he's going to hurt himself, at least he knows he's going to hurt himself. Then he can say, well, at least I hurt myself. At least he has some kind of agency like that. It's a perverse deal. It's a disturbed deal. It's a sick deal. But baby's desperate to survive here. How does the baby cope with the mother hurting him? So in his mind, I'll be her myself. And then he's cursed with spending his life shaming others who represent him, and then thinking the ones he just shamed is the mother who hurt him. Then he's angry at the ones he just shamed. This disturbed stuff, right? So these, at the same time, they're trapped in the mirror. It's a very tenuous thing, and so they give up development. It's called arrested development, developmental arrest, stunted development, and it kind of quote unquote the thorn, they're fixed like that. So they don't bother with empathy and gratitude and affection and tenderness, being an adult, being an elder. That's too far for them. The quote said it's like a luxury for them. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just in survival mode. I gotta save my mother, because in effect, maybe one way to think about this is the baby thought, or maybe the mother let the baby think that if he can save the mother, if he can cure the mother, fix the mother, then mother will provide the love. But that's the quote unquote big lie, because no baby can cure or heal their traumatized mother. But maybe some mothers allow the child to think that. So the child ends up believing a big lie. So he's stuck with this big lie. that one day, if he saves the mother, mother will love him and he'll resume development. So it's not going to work. So he's frozen there. He's stuck there, waiting and waiting, hopeless, relentless, waiting. Um, so he'll be dysfunctional to keep on waiting. He'll be dysfunctional to stay loyal. He'll be dysfunctional because he still believes the big lie that if he saves the mother, mother will love him. A time machine will come and he'll get the love. He's still dysfunctional. So a lot of dysfunction means being loyal to the mother, protecting the mother, still believing the lie, because the play the clip from the actor. You can't handle the truth. Remember that one? You can't handle the truth. The, okay, so the baby can't handle the truth that the mother lied to him, that the mother betrayed him and failed him. He can't handle that truth. He can't handle that. You can't handle that truth. So he'll be dysfunctional because he can't handle the truth. Oh boy. Oh, they're really. Yeah, you don't. I know you don't hear it, but there's a full-on construction, hammering and sawing and all that. Jesus. Have I reached my limit with it? Um, it's not. The lobby's not too busy at the moment. I could go downstairs. Give me a break from all this noise. Yeah, let's do that. Maybe I think it's too bad, eh? Oh no, it just stopped. Oh, it just stopped just when I thought I was gonna leave it. Coincidence. Oh yeah, what a relief. My goodness. It's gonna start up again. Well, maybe it's over. Let's see. Let's wait a minute. Maybe they'll have their lunch. What time is it? Let's see. 3:23. I was thinking about whether or not to play another Katie Lee song. We could play Properly Loved or. So these songs by Katie Lee come from an album of hers entitled Songs of Couch and Consultation. And her sequel is called Life is a Bed of Neurosis. Instead of Life is a Bed of Roses, Life is a Bed of Neurosis. Because we're homotraumicus. It must be something psychological. We're homotraumicus. We traumatize ourselves accidentally 10,000 years ago. In Star Trek, it's 6,000 years ago. They say 6,000 years. Take your whatever. We traumatize ourselves and we transition from Homo sapiens sapien to Homo sapien traumicus. Or Homo traumicus for short. Okay, there's a theory about okay. Now on that point, there's a 7.5 hour video called "The 48 Symptoms of Homo traumicus," and I won't do it here this time. It's based on as above, so below. That our behavior outwardly is a reflection of our inner state. Like if we're polluting the planet, well, that's a reflection that we didn't get mother's good food, good nourishment, good love like that. If the mother was stressed when she was feeding, a little bit toxic like that, um, the cortisol in the breast milk from the mother to the baby is a little toxic for him. So he may pollute the planet as a reflection of his inner state, as above, so below. And okay, it takes 7.5 hours to run through that. But theory is we're a traumatized version of ourselves. We're all from the same family, okay? Earth community, you know, human family. We're all from the same human family, But this one massive family of us is traumatized. Now, the confusing thing about it is while we spread around different places, there it became easy to project upon each other due to trivial biological variations. But they're just trivial biological variations. But people would assign these trivial biological variations to make people think that they need mother. So if someone is more resembles them, there's my mother. They still need mother. Somebody who's has a trivial biological variation, it's a slight little thing. It doesn't matter. Oh, you're not my mother. That's separation anxiety. I cannot have no mother. Okay, no, okay, I stop. So if I start on prejudice, it's a dozen. There's a dozen theories on prejudice. So you're angry at your mother, you see the other's your mother, angry at mother, so you see the other, you put a dash between the M and the O, other reminds you of the mother, you're angry at the mother, so you're angry at the other because the other's the mother. The other is seen as love, so they were differentiated, you didn't differentiate. You didn't separate from the mother. You didn't differentiate from the mother. You see other, you think maybe they differentiate. They're different. They're other. That means they were loved. Envy, hatred of the good. They were loved. They're different. That means they're loved. They receive love. Wait a minute. To feel safe with their mother, they gotta hate goodness. So they gotta hate people who are loved, i.e., they they believe people who are different were loved. So they got that's another. Okay, and it goes on and on in that kind of area. 2 videos ago in this outdoor spot, I covered four. I summarized four of the theories on prejudice. Uh, it's a construction back. Yeah, okay. Give me a good 5 minutes to set up downstairs. I think I've reached my limit with all this buzzing and hammering. Although you don't hear it, but it's pretty loud here. That's too bad, eh? Depends on my mood. Sometimes I can put up with it. Sometimes, you know. Okay, give me a good 5 minutes to pack up here, and I'll settle downstairs somewhere. Hold on a sec.
Going down.
So we're posting this in the year 2025.
First floor.
Oh, it's packed in here. It's a full house. So let me check the corner. Hi. Yeah, good, thanks. There's people there as well. Son of a gun, eh? Let's see if I can do a part of it here. So, by the way, we're currently in the middle of a 3 video special run on a thing called the as if personality. And we just completed the parts 1 and part 2. And this video will do part 3. And I thought those past 2 videos on this phenomena was an interesting discussion, I thought. So I would highly recommend reading those quotes for the past 2 videos, and then this will close it up more or less here with part 3. So it does seem to be either we can think of it as a distinct personality, or maybe just a more broader phenomena that's going on with everybody. This as if phenomenon. Oh, let me put up my coffee cup so she doesn't want me to buy something. Hold on a second. Let me dig up my cup so she thinks I ordered already. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's my. All right. Okay, so for the price of a you know what, you can get this encyclopedia. Um, yeah, so we'll do part 3. I want to finish up with the complex tour, the Faust complex tour. What a complex tour! That complex tour, they're trapped in the mirror, so they forget about development. Okay, gratitude, empathy, the quote unquote more human side of being human, the feeling, mourning, pleasure, joy, expressing your uniqueness, being able to apologize and discover and be creative and grow and have a positive feedback loop with somebody where you grow and discover and reclaim yourself. Those are all luxuries. They're in this very tenuous, fragile state where they got to stay trapped in the mirror. To stay trapped in the mirror, if it's the Faust complex version of it, they got to shame others playing them and then hate the ones they just shame. And then the cortex gives them excuses, rationalizations, flimflammery, duplicity as cloaks and camouflage called rationalizations, justifications. These are just there to camouflage to self and others what's really going on. Shall I compare thee to an onion? But underneath, they're just maintaining their um, status of narcissism, waiting, waiting, and waiting, and waiting that maybe someday, mother will appear and they'll look at their mother's eyes and they'll see themselves reflected in their mother's eyes in a loving way. That means they have a loving self, a self to love, and then they can go forward like that. So enter the Hirsch quote. the Hirsch, Robert Hirsch, 1940 something. He was talking about somebody who was doing just some kind of self harm, some self defeating thing. He said, think of it that's that person's reflection of themselves as they saw themselves reflected through their mother's eyes when they couldn't meet their mother's needs. Think about it. If the mother wants the baby to comfort her and the baby can't, she might be angry and reject the child, shame the child. The child sees that image of himself based on how the mother regards him. When the mother fails the mother, she's enraged like that. That's his understanding of himself. So he'll perpetuate this self sabotaging, self defeating kind of thing to stay loyal. That's his mother. Okay? Now, this mechanism that does this, a burglar calls psychic masochism. Now you got to play Pat Benatar's song, Hell is for Children. Okay, when love and pain are the same. So the pain with the mother, the way the child copes with it, he commits a quote unquote major crime here. He libidinalizes the psychic pain, shame, rejection, hurt, dysfunction. He libidinalizes it. That's love, that's mother. So he's loyal and believes the lie. So he libidinalizes the big lie. Okay, the pleasure and displeasure phenomenon. Now this is very hard to know this. It's very hard for anyone to admit that when mother hurt them, the baby thinks, oh, that's love, that's mother. Pain is love? What the hell? So the way not to know it is to make you repressed about its knowledge, to keep that knowledge repressed. The trick is you confess to a lesser crime, quote unquote, a quote unquote rescue station. Um, so you might have a symptom. Oh, that's the problem, my symptom, the physical issue, and you think that's the cause. No, that's the symptom. No, it's the cause. Or dysfunctional living, smoking, drinking. So that's the issue. Focusing on dysfunctional things like smoking, drinking, yeah, that's to like a straw man kind of thing. Keeps your attention away from the real issue. To repress the real issue, you believe it's this defensive thing. So smoking, drinking, dysfunctional living, that's a defense against the primary major defense of libidinalizing pain. Bergler calls it the libidinalization of psychic guilt, psychic shame, psychic pain, like that. That's a huge quote unquote crime like that. So his metaphor is the courtroom thing. Um, so the soul has a lawyer, and the lawyer pleads, um, tries to make a deal with the look, judge. Come on, judge, cut him a break here. He's just a little baby here. He had to think pain is love and pain is his mother. Come on, don't curse him to lifelong misery because of this. Um, Come on, he's just a little baby here. No, he's guilty. Did he save the mother? He believed the big lie. Did he save the mother? Did he cure the mother? No, that's true. He didn't. Well, he's guilty. Oh, he's guilty. He's in debt. He's got to save the mother. He's got to cure the mother. The judge is doing this, right? Now, remember, in the unconscious judge, it's not like a normal conscious judge in the regular world. In the unconscious judge, it's different like that. You're always guilty no matter what, basically. Um, that's called unconscious guilt, right? So the judge is saying, did he save the mother? Did the baby save the mother? No. So he's cursed. He's a criminal. No, come on, judge. You cut him some slack here. Um, did he save the mother again? No, he's guilty, right? So he's guilty. He didn't save the mother. So he's guilty. He's guilty. No, come on. How about this, judge? Let's say he's guilty to something else. Let's say he's guilty to smoking and drinking. He's guilty for that. Judge goes, oh, you want to make a deal, right? Well, so I see. So what you want for your client, the soul, is that he'll think that he's guilty because he's smoking and drinking, not because he's guilty because of the other thing. Well, fine. As long as he's suffering, fine. Okay, I'll accept the plea deal or something. So he confesses to the lesser crime, and the judge says, okay. Now this is a defensive cloak to make him unaware of the bigger issue. So he'll be unaware of the bigger issue, but he's suffering anyways. He just blames his suffering on something else, not knowing that the real suffering is the deeper one. So the judge goes along with this deal. That's Burglar's sort of a meta psychological prop. He has his own props. That's a prop of his. Edmund Burglar's courtroom thing, that's like a meta psychological prop to describe Pat Benatar's song "Hell is for Children." Okay, now we don't mean it necessarily in the way the singer refers to it, the physical stuff. It could be emotional abuse, things like that. Doing okay, okay, doing okay here. I almost never sit in this section. This section is always occupied. Oh, now it's occupied. I got to keep an eye out on that corner spot. That's my favorite spot back there. Yeah, it's a relief to get away from the construction noise. My goodness, it was wearing on me. Yeah, really. My goodness. But the last time I did a video, I did the whole thing with the construction. I managed it. I was okay. This time, 1 hour of it, oh, my nerves are frayed. Okay, that's another topic. Edmund, so this theory is called psychic masochism, the pleasure in displeasure phenomenon known as the libidinalization, or the making the pleasurable of the pain. Now he mixes pain as pleasure. So again, the courtroom, to not know it, he'll confess to something else. So this confessing to something else still protects the mother. It still protects the big lie. So in the healing journey to get out of this, to emancipate yourself from mental slavery, play Bob Marley, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Uh, I tried to play that song, it's copyrighted and all that. That's a good little song, right? Emancipate. um, you got, number one, you gotta really get the psychological story of your mother and father. You gotta know their birth order. What kind of humor do they have? Are they stinger or are they clinger? What kind of personality do they have? Are they impaired? Is their humor dark? Well, that's a stinger mode. Okay. Recognize that our parents are members. They're also members of Homo Traumicus. We're all members of Homo Traumicus, so keep that in mind, right? They have intergenerational trauma. See them as people. Hopes and Dreams, didn't pan out. Bruce Springsteen, Independence Day, Toronto, the clip there. Um, Rosanna Deerchild's line. The more I learned of my mother's story, the more of a person she became to me. You got to see your parents as people, not just parents, like people, like see them as people, right? Like think about your father as a fellow who had a wife, and your mother is a woman who was married to a man. Like think about your parents as a man and a woman relating, like just people kind of stuff. Anyways, so there's a lot of material about getting your parents' story. One guy calls that honoring your parents. The true meaning of honoring your parents is get their true psychological story, neuromedicine. When you do that, when you get the true story, what are the earliest memories, for example? That can give you a kind of a theme of their life. Their first three earliest memories, it's kind of like it shows you a theme in their life, kind of thing. Get the birth order. Yeah. Um, for example, if the mother, let's say, is the firstborn in her family, let's say she's the firstborn, that means when she grows up, she'll marry a man with the same personality as her mother. If the firstborn, why? As above, so below. She has an unresolved issue with the mother, so she grows up and finds a man like the mother. Okay. If the firstborn's a son, the boy, okay, unresolved. The thing with the boy is he grows up and marries a woman with the same personality as the father. So their present relationship will be a reflection of the memory interstate, as above, so below. So think about your parents in terms of Anne Teachworth's book entitled Why We Pick the Mates We Do. A very good book, Why We Pick the Mates We Do. We did a 3-video special run, um, an excellent, a really exciting, fun stretch of quotes from Miss Teachworth, Anne Teachworth. Why We Pick the Mates We Do. The book's still around. It's in its 6th printing, 1997 book, I think. Um, Easy to find. A lot of copies, secondhand copies are floating around. Unfortunately, She was just publishing her sequel when she was just about to pass away. So we don't know the status. I'm trying to get her sequel because she updated that book just before she passed away. There's an interview with her talking about it. She said in the interview, "Oh, it's being published as we speak right now. It's being published." And then she died a month after that interview. So I don't really know where that book is. I've written around. Can somebody please uh, publish that book or or make it available somehow? Because that was a great book. Why we pick the meats we do. And then she said she vastly updated it. That'd be very exciting. I think this is just the second time I've managed to sit in this kind of area here. Okay. Is the lighting this way okay? If I do it this way, is that better? Where can I get the button? Yeah, okay, just stay like this. All right. Okay, where are we here? I asked the staff if I can use that little nook there. They said, "Oh, sorry, sir." There's a nice little spot there, but I can't. Like they wouldn't let me use it. Okay, so part of the healing journey is to get your parents a story. Okay, earliest memories. Um, like identify, for example, the role they played in their family. You know, sometimes the, the the grandparents. So let's say your father was scapegoated in his family. Then you know he was scapegoated. Let's say the mother was chosen to be the hero, the star, as a proxy to give the parents narcissistic supply. Because if the daughter's seen, the parents feel that they're seen, they get supply like that. So find out or they're lost, or they're the clown or the mascot. Find out the role your parents play. That's another important one. The role. Oh, I might have to move now. Let me check the corner spot. Let's see if I can go over there. No, it's still there. Let's look again. What about back here? Sometimes, once in a rare blue moon, this spot, no, that's used too. Hmm. Let's try this again. Gotta spend a few minutes in here then. No, no, oh. I was here last night at this very spot. Yeah. Last night I did a night video yesterday until 9 p.m. Okay, where are we here? So yeah, Anne Teachworth's book, Why We Pick the Mates We Do. Highly recommend that book. Another book, sort of in a similar spirit, is Alain Golem's book called Unloved Again. But you got it. It was a self-published book. iuniverse.com. Well worth the price of a you know what to get the PDF file. But we got the best quotes from Miss Golem in our collection here. 2941 to 3, I think it is. Is that right? No, 2940. Oh boy. I don't know, about 2-3 weeks ago we covered it. Maybe a month ago we covered it. A very good string of, we did, I don't know, I remember now, we did 14 videos. Oh, there we go. We did a 14 video special run on the work of Miss Golem from those two books of hers, Unloved Again, just mentioned, and her first book called Trapped in the Mirror, Narcissism, Trapped in the Mirror. Okay, I've cited the Carol Burnett example, Visit from Dan, numerous times already, so I won't do it again. But there's a clip called Visit from Dan from the Carol Burnett comedy show. Just that particular clip. That shows narcissism pretty clearly. The mother made it all about her, and the visitor Dan said, "Gee, and I thought my mother couldn't see past the end of her nose." You know? So in narcissism, you're still the baby, psychologically speaking, entitled, center, all about me. Mirror me, see me, make me the center, make me where they feel entitled. They didn't reach the place of differentiation to love and care about others, so they're very self-centered, egocentric like that. They feel entitled to be seen. They didn't get the oneness of the breast, so they transfer that problem to everybody, think everybody should serve them, and they're entitled like that. So that the clinical picture of that, quote unquote, is um, they always got to be center stage. They got to make it all about them. They feel entitled, and they can't apologize or can't free associate. They can't make an I statement. Forget that stuff because those are luxuries, quote unquote. They just got to get supply. They just got to get supply. They still believe the big lie that one day, if they believe the big lie that one day mother will magically invent a time machine and take the person back to the nursery and give them the love. Unreal stuff, right? Unreal stuff. So the way to get out of this kind of quote unquote curse or whatever is the mourning process. So the ultimate goal is mourning. Good morning. It's spelled with the letter U in it. Morning. You. Oh, morning. You need the U. Oh, no, I forgot about that. The U. You get the U when you do the morning, and you need you to do morning. You've got to do morning. Yeah, to do morning. Morning needs you. Morning needs you. Oh my God, morning needs you. Good morning needs you. Good morning with you. So the mourning brings back the identity because the identity is needed to mourn. The process of mourning brings the identity. Getting the identity allows you to mourn. It's kind of the same. So the psychic, so without the beingness, they don't mourn. That's complicated grief, aggravated grief, the derailment of the grief process, pathological nostalgia, melancholia, and so on. There's a pain like that. Okay, the pain is the anger. So then you're always blowing out steam like that. It's not an instinct to blow off steam. Um, it's just the pain is around not being able to feel. If you feel, it's a relief. If you feel, there's a warm stream within or something. But if you don't have the warm stream, the springs, then you got there's pain around losing your soul, right? And the pain cycles around, and you got blow off steam all the time. So we want to get back to spring, right? The inner spring. Lou Graham calls it the midnight blue, the feminine element, the feminine principle, the yin, the shakti, the beingness, the princess, you know. So in myths and fairy tales, the princess is a picture or a symbol for this, for the beingness. But look at the condition of these princesses, Snow White, Rapunzel, and things like Echo and so on. Echo's a statue. Snow White's in a coma or something. Rapunzel's locked in a tower. The Maiden King morphed into a bird and flew away, you know. So we had our beingness, we lost it, want to get it back. We had our beingness. Usually we lose it at birth or shortly afterwards. Sometimes in the uterus we lose it. You recognize you lost it somewhere around midlife, and then you do the audit, the midlife audit, the midlife examination period. One guy called it a survey or something, life survey. Okay, this is called the second journey in midlife. The inner, now it's the inner journey or a hero's journey. The hero's journey means the inner journey. Man in the mirror, look at your, examine yourself, kind of thing. Look within. The monsters from the that stuff's within. Stop projecting them and say others are dangerous. No, you're talking about your own anger at your mother. See, when you project, you're denying your soul. You know, so when you own your projections, withdraw your projections, also known as shadow work, because dark, unknown, you project, so shadow work, reclaim it. You need a lantern. You need a lantern. These quotes we have here are like a lantern. Jeanette Paris calls it night vision, giving you night vision. Also, a lasso of truth to bring up the truth. A fishing rod to bring up the fish. The fish is a symbol for repressed, unknown contents of yourself. Okay, the ocean is the unconscious. You got fish in there. So when you bring up the fish and eat the fish, okay, that means you're gonna integrate and assimilate and reclaim and own, make it a part of you again. It's a part of you. It's like the Rapunzel and the rampions, the radishes. Pull up the radishes, eat the radishes. The radishes were in the ground, dark, shadow, unknown, something about you, witch's garden, unconscious. Hop over the fence, pull up the rampions, and then you eat the radish. It means you accept something that previously you didn't know. You want to meet the unconscious, conscious, reintegrate, reclaim what's yours, kind of thing. We had our soul, we lost it, want to get it back. Okay. Should play some music. Did we finish the Faust complex, the Faust tour? Okay, again, identification with the aggressor. They're trapped in the mirror. It leads to one of the stinger personality patterns. The commonality of the stinger personality patterns is the Faust complex. They shame others. Others are their soul to make them unaware and repress the pain of their soul. They shame their soul, but they got to shame others to repress their soul. But when it's repressed, it's projected. So the projected you is crying for love, which you shame and you repress this. It goes around like that. Now the beingness is not there. The anger's mainly there. So now it's all about survival. Jungle slogans. So people with stinger personality patterns, it's easy to see it because they spout constant jungle slogans. Okay, if the baby's fighting for his life with his mother like that, so it's a question of survival all the time. If the baby thinks he's going to be gone if it doesn't get mother's needs. So that's the jungle slogan idea. You know, the jungle dangerous all the time. So that the clinical picture. The shrinks always use this phrase, the clinical picture. The clinical picture is, you'll hear typical things like no regret, no apology, all that stuff. You can't apologize. Apologize is vulnerability. Apologize means you admit others as people. You can't do that. Others are symbolic breasts that's supposed to feed you. How can you apologize? You didn't reach the place of being to being, person to person. You still feel entitled to receive. So it's an insult to apologize. No apology. I'm never going to apologize. I'm never going to apologize. They can't, right? Free association, tell the truth. Oh no, oh no. I'll give you decoy feelings. I'll give you sham feelings, as if feelings. I won't tell you the real truth. I won't tell you the real truth because the last time I had my truth, Mother Shamey, simple, basic, Pavlovian, classical conditioning. I don't want to feel the pain of my truth, so I won't tell the truth. So they can't tell the truth. So they don't tell the truth, can't make eye statements. Therefore, there's no intimacy. And love means, love means you're sharing your real self with somebody. They can't do that, right? Relationships are utilitarian. Relationships are based on blowing off steam onto the third. So relationships are based on prejudice, of course, that keeps the two together. So they blow off steam on the third. They agree on who to discharge on the third two. That keeps the two together. Then they take turns playing big shot. So if two stingers are friends or they get married, they take turns playing big shot. You get a turn playing infantile God. I get a turn playing infantile God, and that's it. Any real feelings and anger about our past, anything that's authentic, okay, dump it onto the scapegoat. So Freddie in the comic psychoanalysis was used in that purpose. So in the comic psychoanalysis, there's a comic simply entitled Psychoanalysis. Back in 1955, uh, 4 issues were put out, okay, using 3 clients, one shrink, 3 clients, 12 sessions all in. Excellent comic. Still to this day, in my humble opinion, the best introduction to psychoanalysis is that comic Psychoanalysis. Lost for decades. 5 years ago, 5 years ago, minus a month, um, it got digitized. February 26, 2000, the comic Psychoanalysis got saved. It got reprinted. It's in a hardback. The complete run of the comics in a hardback. I had it for a while. I posted some quotes. I talked about it a fair bit a couple of years ago. And it's been digitized. Dark Horse Publishing, well worth the fee. The best intro to psychoanalysis is that comic. I can't to this day think of any other introduction to psychoanalysis. That comic, um, you get a clear, vivid sense of what the whole thing's about. So one of the characters was a kid named Freddie, and the mother was narcissistic, the stinger, right? One of the stingers. The father was narcissistic, the bully one of the stingers. So those two, how do those two get along? How do two stingers get along? They can't free associate intimacy, share warmth. They don't trust each other. They hate each other basically. But it's utilitarian. They have some kind of strategic kind of thing. Well, what we'll do is we'll have a kid and we'll make him naughty, and then we'll use the camouflage called spare the rod to hide our real issue that we want to blow off steam onto the kid. So the two do this so they can have someone to shame. They need someone to shame, to blow off steam onto, right? Now it's not an instinct to do this. It's just a water flow diversion like that. So poor Freddie was scapegoated like this, and then it got so bad at one point, they, unbeknownst to them, they took Freddie to the shrink. Shrinker man, fix our kid here. What a mess. What's wrong with our kid? The shrink was onto it. He's the symptom. You two are scapegoating him. You two are hurting him. What are you talking about? We're perfect. I'm the greatest dad in the world. I'm the greatest mom in the world. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, right. Freddie, here's a quarter. Go down the road. There's a laundromat and there's a pinball machine in there. Play pinball in the 50s, right? Take a break. Take a breather. There's a park. Yeah. Get a skateboard. Did they have skateboards back then? I don't know. Yeah, I think they did. No, they didn't. Did they? That's in the 80s, right? Skateboards. When did skateboards come out? What was the main toy? A pogo stick. Yeah, get yourself a pogo. Here's $1. Buy a pogo. Here's $5. Buy a pogo stick. Or $2. How much was a pogo stick in the 50s? I don't know. So the shrink just said, "You're free. You're not the problem. You're absorbing all their hate, and you feel important of playing this role to absorb their hate because it keeps your parents together. You're kind of important, right, Freddie? You keep them together. If it weren't for you, they'd break up. But you keep them together. You feel so. But you're paying a huge price for this. So you take a break. You, sir, okay, you need therapy. You, ma'am, you need therapy, and I'll refer you to my colleagues like that." So Freddie's just a symptom. Um, Okay, the sting of personality, not just, so the bully one we know about. Okay, the egoism, the ego one. Okay, that's like a sneaky one because the ego is very much filled with ennui and envy, and his strategy is to hide somewhere behind wherever, and then spread rumor. It spies on everybody, I guess, and spreads rumors around all the time to trick and coax to fool others against themselves. And then he sits back in a gleeful, sadistic, kind of pleasurable state because he's getting goodness destroyed. Look, Mom, you destroyed my goodness. I'm going to destroy goodness out there. You see, I'm mirroring you. I'm mirroring you. Big lie. When will you be pleased and love me in return? You destroy my goodness, I'm going to destroy goodness out there. But the Iago tactic is he doesn't do it directly. Okay, his there's different ways, right? So he's detached and finds those of the bully pattern as flying monkeys for them. So usually the Iago has a bunch of flying monkeys to do his bidding for them, kind of thing. So now the flying monkeys, they want to feel important and blow off steam. So Iago uses those flying monkeys for his agenda to destroy goodness, because of course bullying is destructive. Um, and So on the Enneagram, that's the 5 and the 8 line, the 5 and the 8, the unhealthy 5 lines with the healthy 8. The 8 is like a proxy of the 5. The 5 doesn't do it. Okay, he just finds others to do it for him, and that kind of thing. He doesn't even have the hope to win love. He doesn't even want a lackey, thinking the lackey can be mother in the past. His only sense of safety is to destroy goodness. He's filled with ennui. Ennui. He's got everything. So usually the Iago is the healthier ones. I mean, the richer ones or something, I guess. Okay, Iago and the bully and the narcissist, of course. Now the narcissist, there's a whole bunch of them, right? You got the familiar cookie cutter garden variety dime a dozen one that we all know about. They're kind of openly like that. They're openly self-centered and egocentric. It's all about them. And then from that externalized exhibitionistic type, you got a branch of it called the Don Juan, Don Quixote, and the Playboy, and the Womanizer. That's a branch of that like that. Okay, you got the clinging vine narcissist. You got the voyeur narcissist. The voyeur narcissist just watches others exhibiting it for them. There's voyeuristic like that. The turtle one, um, they're just in they're narcissistic in their shell kind of thing. They're not Iagos necessarily. They're just narcissistic in their self-sufficient pride. I don't need anybody. I'm alone. Leave me alone. I'm a turtle. I'm a superior turtle. Oh my goodness. Then you got the clinging vine narcissist. Um, and a couple of others. Um, Lower functioning BPD has a lot in common with the bully pattern. Oh, the passive aggressive narcissist. Don't forget about that. The passive aggressive narcissist. That's an interesting one. Because the passive aggressive narcissist um, is narcissistic by passive aggressive means. So they don't want to cooperate. Similar to the BPD, lower functioning BPD, they don't want to cooperate with anyone because everyone's their mother and they're battling with the mother. So they express their anger passively. They delay, make things confusing to hedge and then to avoid, frustrate others. Others get angry by this behavior. Um, so the benefit of uh, the one secondary gain of the passive aggressive narcissist is that others will be angry by their behavior. Then others express their anger for them. So they get a secondary benefit like this. And they act all innocent, they act all innocent, of course. They don't want to see their contribution to it. So they have a kind of a covert anger, kind of quiet, sneaky anger. Lateness is the typical example cited by many authors. They're going to be late. They agree to be on time. That means agree, do what mother wants. No, I don't do what mother wants. I do what I want. I'll show up when I want. I'll make him wait and suffer and make him angry. I'm going to anger my mother, make him angry, anger my mother. I'll show up an hour late, kind of thing. I won't even call. And if they're not there, good. That means they were very angry or something. So a passive aggressive narcissism. Okay, there's a couple of others. The simple, okay, the as if personality is probably going to be in there as well. Right? Now there may be. Is there such a thing as a? No, no. I would guess my first guess is if as if personality is a personality, it's going to be in the stinger camp. No, wait a minute, wait a minute. It'd be in the clinger camp because those authors call the as if personality the quiet BPD. Now the BPD got the higher functioning and the lower functioning. But the way they describe the as if personality, it's more like the quiet BPD as the codependent one. So okay, then the as if personality is probably going to be in the clinger mode, the codependent area, the pleaser and the caretaker mode. Yeah, okay. They're not angry at others. So by the way, 30% of what you're hearing in this lecture is wrong. It's up to you to figure out which 30%. That's a line that Robert Bly uses as well. That's what Robert Bly says to his audience. Dear audience, thanks for coming out here in the blizzard, Minnesota. I'm going to give you an interpretation of a fairy tale. At the same time, 30% of what you're going to hear is wrong. I don't know which 30%. That's your job to figure out. That's your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to figure out which 30% is wrong. So I'm not, once again, disclaimer, I'm not a shrink professor like that. Simple PA. I'm the compiler of the quotes. So I'm just discussing it to learn it. These are invitations for mutual exploration, clues, hypotheses, guesstimates. We're just fishing around. We're brainstorming here. This is all brainstorming. Sometimes you get a little aha or eureka moment or aha moment. That's called emotional knowing. That's what we're looking for. So these quotes are selected kind of in the spirit of leading towards emotional knowing. Now, some people take ideas and knowledge to get away from feelings. This perspective is to use insights and theories that lead you to accept your feelings, to function like a basket to hold your feelings. Psychoanalysis looks for an egg in a basket that's missing. So we got to find this basket first to work towards the egg and the feelings, the new potential, new life. Now, some people, as a defense against that, they want to minimize that. They want to repress the pain by using intellectualization. That's why we don't have convoluted jargon. That's why we avoid too philosophical, too airy kind of ideas. So we don't have disturbed translations from the Freud area. We don't have Jung and Lacan and Kohut and Adler, even, and some other more familiar names. A lot of those more well-known names, we don't actually have them. We have clear analytic writers like Ann Teachworth, Alan Golem, mentioned in this video. James F. Masterson is a key mentor. Okay. Edmund Bergler mentioned, Karen Horney, okay. Arthur Janoff, and Rinsley, Selene, Guntra, Althea Horner. And we've got really good authors like that, clear analytic authors like that. We've got their best quotes here in this collection, all for the price of a you-know-what. Free parking. They've got free parking here. Oh, if you're a guest here, I see. Actually, yeah, they have a bit of a promotion on the buffet on the second floor here. Why am I telling you that? I don't really eat out too much, so it's a bit of a treat and a novelty for me to finally. I want to stay on good terms, so I once in a while have to. Well, the basic is I always buy a very expensive coffee here, but once in a while. Yeah, of the several venues that I go to, these guys here have been really kind of Okay, yeah, this is a more spacious place, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm always on the lookout for new venues, and about a year and a half ago, I think I had a unused meeting room that was kind of run down. They let me use for a while. Some of the best videos in our collection were done in those meeting rooms. If I can speak freely without interruptions or things, sometimes I can cram in more material. Are we finished with the Faust complex? Okay, identification with the aggressor. Um, so the stingers, the commonality with the stingers are hate, greed, envy, envy, spite, vindictiveness, schadenfreude, grievance collecting, burglar calls it injustice collecting. It's always survival, anxiety, survival, jungle slogans, my greed, your greed. Okay. When people engage in adversarial thinking, oppositional thinking, black or white thinking, okay, jungle slogan thinking, that's that's loyalty to the trauma that their mother hurt them because you can't handle the truth. A famous line. They can't handle the truth that mother failed them. So to be loyal to whitewash mother's lovelessness, to whitewash mother's uh, lying to the child, like this with the big lie, to whitewash all that, to still have the hope that if they fix her, they'll love her in return. They engage in either or thinking. That's the response to trauma. So if you engage in the response to trauma, either or thinking, you maintain the trauma bond to the mother, and you are the mother sometimes. So either or thinking, okay, you're still waiting for mother's love, basically. Jungle slogan thinking, either or thinking, okay, you're still waiting for mother's love. That's another complex to it. That's called the mother complex or the Oedipus complex. Okay, you're fused with the mother inwardly. It's like the outer symbol is the marriage, but it's not. But that's code for the inner fusion crossover, like a marriage like that. It's not literally as it's seen on the outside. Myths and fairy tales are true on the inside. They're metaphors for psychological trauma. Fairy tale motifs and mythological motifs are code for psychology patterns that are invisible and inside. Invisible inside don't see it. So the stories you see it, but they're not real. But they point to something invisible that's real, but you don't see it. So you need metapsychological props like Burglar's legal drama. So, in getting your parents a story, to know that the mother didn't love the baby, identify, does she have one of the stinger personality patterns? Does the mother have a narcissistic pattern? Does she make it all about her? Does she always feel entitled? Does she raise her children on guilt instead of love? Does she use guilt trip tactics? Okay, enter the cartoon, little bubble there. It says, mothers don't want to push your buttons because hey, she sewed them on. That's a real compulsion on the mother's side to get supply through her children. So that's very narcissistic to do that. She feels entitled to get supply. She's not in a place to mirror and see the children, okay? Because the mother, like the wicked queen, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's number one, who's the center, like that. Who's the fairest? They would say it that way. They mean narcissism. They could easily, for clarity, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's it all about? Who's the center of it all? Who's center stage? Um, so they just said fairest of them all, the prettiest of them all. So it's not about physical appearance. Okay, once again, those Snow Whites are coming up. Yeah, beginning with 66, 29, 66, 7, and 8. Those three. Yeah, the interesting quotes. Yeah. So we have a major chapter in our encyclopedia. Okay, psychological interpretations and myths of fairy tales. So now we're doing Snow White. We've done several others already recently. So Snow White is a. Okay, no, let's not get started. Okay. Yeah. So in getting your mother's story, identify which stinger personality pattern that you have. Or at least identify: is it a stinger mode, i.e., crossed over trauma before 18 months, or is it the clinger mode post 18 months, and you're a little better off that way because children who are traumatized post 18 months, they're sort of halfway um, um, in the developmental process. But they got over that 18-month hump of the godlike delusion, that the infantile megalomania. So they're still in the human area, but they're childlike, they're foolish, they're naive, they're hopeless, romantic stuff, like things like that. So they got this relentless hope that if they find somebody who reminds them of the parent, they can resume development, but they'll be rejected the way they were rejected. So they're not going to have their full agency. They're not going to have their full autonomy. They're caught in that phase between 18 months and 36 months. They didn't quite reach the quote unquote psychological birth. So their MO is I'm not okay, you're okay, basically. But trauma before 18 months, they can't hold on to their I'm not okayness. Okay? They need proxies to have that. Okay? They take refuge in the mirror. Okay, that once upon a time that they're still a little god. They take refuge in that phase that all babies think they're gods. So from that delusion, they'll say, "Oh, I'm okay." Now they project their soul as not being okay onto others, so they say, "You're not okay." So their MO is, "I'm okay, you're not okay." Again, when they say you're not okay, they're talking about their own soul, and that's a crossover like that. It's the derailment of the development. So they got more work to do to unblend from that. So all the more reason to get your mother's story, all the more reason to face the truth that the mother didn't love the baby. She was impaired. Now, when we say the mother didn't love the baby, okay, a little asterisk here. From the baby's point of view, if the baby's needs don't get met and he thinks the mother's a monster, uh, as a result, his needs weren't met. He wasn't loved like that. So from the baby's point of view, the effect on the baby kind of. It's funny, I just saw a clip just before coming out. One of those short little clips um, shows up on your YouTube thing. There's a woman, jeepers, she got out of the car. She was pregnant. I guess she was on the way to the hospital. She was slowly walking um, to the hospital or something. And then she stopped. The husband was there. So she leaned forward, leaning on the husband, and her friend was with her. Um, she, no, she said she was the midwife. So the midwife was there, the husband was there. So the woman was just standing like on the curb, basically, like in front of the building. She was just standing there, leaning a little bit forward. The midwife's in the okay, and the baby comes out. The midwife just hands the baby, leaves the cord, leaves the placenta, hands the baby to the mother, and it was a natural birth like that. The only thing missing was the skin to skin, because she was clothed and all that. Ideally, she would have placed the baby on the bosom and hold the baby to the bosom. Right? But pretty good. That baby didn't get birth trauma. That's pretty good. That kid's going to do very well. They might become very athletic, good with music. They might be a good dancer. There wasn't prenatal trauma, birth trauma. The baby came out in a smooth motion. It was easy like that. The only issue might be is can the mother place the baby to the bosom and let him suckle and attach? So it's got to have the skin to skin, the suckling, and the loving gaze. Let's say the mother fails in that area. So he won't have birth trauma, but so it's very nice to see that baby did not have birth trauma. No pills, no procedures and things. Baby came out easily. That kid will have a lot of confidence. That kid will generally think that if he does something, he can complete it. He will not have a fear of success. He came out of the canal, everything was okay. That could be a pattern in his life. I start to do things, it's complete, everything's okay. Janov has the theory that if the baby's trying to come out of the canal, see that woman was standing, right? So you got gravity. She did a variation of the squatting kind of thing. But she didn't squat. She just basically stood there leaning over, kind of thing. Interesting. I've never seen it. I've never seen a standing delivery kind of thing. It was just posted this morning. What's the channel? Oh, I don't even know where it was, which country or anything. You can hear the midwife saying, "Don't worry, back off, people. Don't worry, I'm a midwife. I know what I'm doing. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. It's okay. Everything's okay." And okay, let's give the benefit. Let's say a minute later, she goes inside and starts nursing, and everything's okay. My goodness. Oh yeah. So back to John. So he has a theory that if the baby's trying to come out of the canal and he can't for some reason, maybe induced labor, the contractions pushing him, mother's freaking out, clenches. Now the baby's hitting to go forward, but being pushed in the back, this life and death struggle like this, it's very painful like this. And then maybe the tailbones, I don't know about this tailbone thing, but if the syrups are used and she's on the table or something, the baby might, I don't know, question mark at the tailbone like that. Because when the mother does the squatting or standing, the tailbone is the back, there's more space like that. But the space is minimized, and the mother might be clenching, and because of the pain, because of the hitting. So then the mother takes anesthesia, painkiller, numbing, endorphins, epidural, all that stuff. So here's the baby trying to come out. He's struggling. He's in a battle. He's trying to come out. He can't come out. Being pushed, being blocked. He's in this. In myths and fairy tales, one person thinks that's all these epic battles with the various characters. A big battle like that. That's the baby's doing a big battle like this. Anyways, he's doing his thing. He's trying to come out. He's trying to come out. Now in that time, okay, he's trying to come out, whether or not there's a fight or something. The mother takes painkillers. Janov thinks that those painkillers are so strong, it ends up in the baby's system. Then the baby is whooshed, i.e., becomes drunk in effect. He's spaced out, numbed out. So then when he comes, then that can be a pattern in his life. That can be an imprint. The imprint is, the template is in his life is that when he tries something, maybe a little struggle or no struggle, I don't know. But when he tries something, he gives up. I give up. The brain sends him endorphins. It triggers it. There's a learning that took place. The prototype was, the first experience was, he tried to come out, tried to do his thing, tried to crawl out like that, and then whoosh, mother flooded him with alcohol, let's say. The equivalent of alcohol, I don't know. So now that's conditioning, right? Classical conditioning, Pavlovian conditioning. So later the person tries to start a project or learn a new hobby or learn a new language or learn how to fix something. He reads the instruction, tries to do something in terms of agency. But suddenly, unbeknownst to him, his brain floods him with endorphins that blots him out. Then he says, I give up. I don't know what it is. I don't understand. I'm confused. I'm in a dreamy kind of mode here. I give up. I can't do it. So he has a pattern of starting things and giving up easily. That's all. That's neurosis because you're still using the adaptive thing in the past all throughout your life. Neurosis means you learned how to cope with the trauma in the past. You still keep flipping it around all your life. Like you're still in the past like that. You're still using old coping strategies that no longer apply in the present. It doesn't apply in the present. It doesn't apply in the present for the person to throw the book or close the book. I can't read this book or whatever. Because the brain, he's trying, he's initiating. Oh, okay, that trigger, catalyst, whoosh, brain sends them endorphins. Now that clip I saw, the kid coming out, see, Janov thinks as well that athletes and Musicians, because they got the balance of the brains, they can be musical, good dancers, they're good coordination. He thinks like a lot of like the marathon people, they were not traumatized. If you're traumatized in the uterus, you'll be out of breath easily because anoxia, because you were stressed in the uterus. The cord might have been twisted. Okay, then the baby was not getting enough oxygen. So in his life, he can barely run a kilometer. He's out of breath. He's not getting enough oxygen. Or the mother smoking when pregnant. The smoking constricts the center vein in the cord. He said that means the child's not getting enough oxygen because the oxygen in the mother has to deal with the smoke on her end. There's not enough available oxygen to send to the baby, and the vein constricts. Another version of anoxia, not enough oxygen. So if the baby has prenatal distress syndrome, prenatal trauma, birth trauma, they might not be very coordinated, good with music, good dancers like that. So you got all these people watching athletes and musicians and dancers and things. So think about that in getting your parents a story. Is the mother athletic, physically healthy, a good dancer, uh, musical like that? What about the father? That's a clue. Look at your parents' health. Think about your parents' health, physical health. That's emotional stuff. It must be something psychological. Today's song. It's psychological. A lot of health issues are psychological. Most health issues are psychological. 99% or something like that. Yes, there's a blurring. The psychology attacks where you're vulnerable organically, but there's a blurring there. And yes, there may be some percentage, small percentage, where it's purely organic or something. But most of the physical issues are psychological. Yeah, and we haven't focused on that point yet. So in getting your parents a story, think about the health condition of your parents. That's a sign of their trauma too, right? That's part of getting your story. So after we get the parents a story, oops, still recording? Okay. That leads towards the truth will upset you free. Mother didn't love the baby. Why didn't mother love the baby? She was impaired. She transferred her past to the present, and the present was always her past. So she couldn't be available in the present for the baby. She was impaired like that. Now you're handling the truth. I can handle the truth. That's called mourning. If you can handle that kind of truth, that's called mourning. Because when you admit that kind of thing, um, there's a natural response that, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe this. I can't believe my own mother didn't love me. Kind of like, whoa, that'll bring up a huge sadness, and the sadness is linked to the beingness. So if you can be sad, that'll be the beingness. Or if you build your beingness, it'll facilitate your capacity to be sad, which builds your beingness. So it's kind of linked like that, I feel. So you want to do this mourning process, and it takes 20 years to build this, to do this kind of thing. Okay, so that's number one. Get your parents a story. Look at their imprint. See, when the parents, okay, back up. Everybody, back to Anne teacher. Everybody has a couple imprint. The couple imprint in the brain is that when the child was growing up, he was receiving a kind of a training film. She said, the child looks at his parents and understands that that's what relationships are like. Two people relating to each other. One's the father, one's the mother. Child says to himself, all right, when I grow up, I'll role play one of them and find someone to play the other parent. And they recreated it because it's painful, it's unresolved. So the parents are fighting, so they'll keep fighting. They'll play one parent, find another marry someone to play the other parent. So as above, so below. And, so think about that couple imprint with your parents. And a clue, she said, as mentioned, if the firstborn's a daughter, she'll marry a man with the personality of the mother. If the firstborn's a boy, he'll grow up and marry a woman with the personality of his mother. That's a bit of a clue like that. Now, Miss T, the good, interesting thing about her book is the 3-chair exercise, where people role play healthy versions of their parents to set a new precedent to refer to, because as above, so below. So heal the inner, have an alternative inner, then you'll have a healthier alternative outer to reflect the new, healthier alternative inner that you create with the role playing exercise. So you want to imagine healthy parents and you role play them. That leads to that. So we spent a fair bit of time on that. Okay, next part of the morning, as I understand it, as a key one, a core one, is you got to find the both and. If you maintain either or thinking, jungle slogan thinking, adversarial thinking, okay, you can't handle the truth. You're loyal to the mother, and you believe your mother's big lie. So you got to get. You don't differentiate if you maintain the splitting. Splitting precludes mourning. Splitting precludes differentiation. Splitting precludes healing. Babies split just briefly for a few weeks. The normal development gets resolved. But if there's too much pain with the mother, they still hold on to the splitting, and you end up with either or. So in the healing, you got to find it. You got to find something that holds the either or, called both and. Third side of the coin holds the both and. That's a major one. So search for the third side of the coin. Back to Route 66. That's the fifth one down. 2599. TQ 2599. The third side of the coin. Part of finding the third side of the coin is the recognition that we're homotraumicus. That means everyone's loving or crying for love. But when people cry for love, it's coded. So you wonder about how they're crying for love in their animal. Okay. So there's a whole topic. It's an Inside Out 2 film, the either or, and the new sense of self came, and then Baba Yaga, either or, the test. I think that question is pretty good. Everyone loves or cries for love. So whatever people are, if you see somebody with a physical issue, that might be the cry through the body, you know. And then you can get into all the most examples of what you see. You can interpret it as a cry for love and just figure it out like that. I think a lot of this cry for love can be seen in the body posture and the body movements and things, the frozen shoulders and things like that. Sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous response. Some babies are born with PTSD, Janov says. Some babies are born too set in with the parasympathetic mode, that's the conserving one. Some babies are revved up in the PTS mode. It's not supposed to be either or like that. We're meant to have a healthy flow between the two nervous systems, sympathetic, parasympathetic, like the yin and the yang kind of thing. Okay, the parents' humor. If the parents' humor is cynical or dark like that, well, that's a stinger mode, of course, because they're shaming others, that's themselves. They take the pride in being the shamer, the mother, but they shame themselves when they shame others. They just project their repressed shame self onto others to shame others to keep it repressed. Okay, so find your parents' humor, that's a clue. Okay, find the both and, that's a clue. Find your parents' imprint, couple imprint, uh, and how their marriage is a reflection of their memories of their childhood that they're still continuing with. Discern between real needs and neurotic needs. Neurotic needs are kind of there when the real needs are not met. Now, neurotic needs, it's called symbolic acting out. So discern between symbolic acting out versus real needs. And the symbolic acting out, for example, no pint of ice cream and bottle of wine can be mother's spirit and sweetness for the past, but it's symbolic of that. So again, the baby cried for love, mother said no. Baby cried for love, mother said no. Okay, that's an infinite loop. When the cortex comes on, that loop goes to the cortex. Now the person is being driven by this loop. But he's confused. I'm being driven, I'm being compelled to reach for love or something, let's say, either themselves directly or through the proxy, and you shame them. But what is the loop? You're not in the nursery. How do you cry for mother's sweetness and love and all that? Well, just find symbols of her, imaginations of her. Could money be mother? Could alcohol be mother's spirit? Could alcohol be like a stimulating fluid, like breast milk was a stimulating fluid? Could could brownies and ice cream be mother's sweets and tenderness? Could soft foods be mother's softness? So you look for symbols of mother. It never works. No symbol of mother's actual mother. So discern between symbolic um, or neurotic needs, which are expressed via symbolic acting out, versus and identifying the real needs and the real feelings around the real needs being met or unmet, that area. So discern, that's dividing the seeds. Right? This someday issue, this someday kind of thing. Well, if I engage in repetition compulsion, if I repeat, maybe I'll change the past. Someday I'll change the past. Someday a magical time machine will appear and I'll change the past. Just repeat, either benignly by getting others to reject you, or perversely by using proxies to play you, wanting love and you reject them, then hate them. But that's the perverse one, the stinger one. Someday, if I repeat, I'll change the path. You got to face this kind of relentless, unreal someday thing. Okay? Someday, um, my symbolic search for mother will be mother in the past. Someday, if I show up the mother and expose the mother, and show my protest against the mother by treating others badly the way she treated me in my protest against her, some magical time machine will appear, take me back to the past. Mother will apologize and provide the love that I should have received originally. Okay, this someday's fantasies are not going to work. Okay, another core task in the healing journey, midlife audit, is you got to confront this existential conclusion we gave ourselves that we're guilty, that we're in debt, that we owe the mother, that it's our job to save the mother, that it's our responsibility to cure the mother because we believed the big lie, because we wanted to have a loving mother, so we thought we could save her. We feel pain, so we feel defective. Mother rejected us. Are we defective? But don't worry, even though I'm defective, I'll still save the mother. No, baby can save the mother. Now he's guilty. Did you save the mother? No, guilty. The superego. You're guilty all the time. Jesus Christ. So you gotta face this. You weren't born guilty, dead sinner, not all this nonsense. You weren't born like that. That's the byproduct of the trauma. Then you think that as a coping strategy to minimize the pain of it all, what Fairbairn calls the moral defense. The baby's going to be like, oh, judge, make this moral decision. Well, mother must be seen as good for my survival. I'll believe the big lie. Mother's good, kaplunk. All the pain I'm feeling, I guess I'm no good, kaplunk. So he thinks this kaplunk is called unconscious guilt, shame like that. So he now feels he's guilty in debt like this. You got to face this dues. No baby has an obligation to save their traumatized. It's no baby's due to do that kind of thing. So you got to update these beliefs like that. Okay, now this topic here, about a week ago, we spent a long time on it. This one here about unconscious guilt, the Franz Kafka story, and the Twilight Zone episode, a shadow play. That's all about unconscious guilt. The guy had a guilt nightmare all the time. Okay, free association is sort of the bread and butter of healing. Say what comes to mind. Okay, so try to tell your story. Just free associate. What freely comes up spontaneously, and if you censor, well, notice that you censor. I must have a very good reason for censoring. I feel blocked. I must have a very good reason for blocking. I'm angry. I must have a very good reason for being angry. Try to say, I'm afraid. What's the scariest thing about saying it? So validate your feelings as you're free associating. And okay, what thoughts come to me by this? What does it remind me of? What does it suggest to me? Same thing in the morning when you get a letter from you to you in the morning called a dream snippet, dream sequence. That's like a letter from your soul to you. It's like this in your soul today. Thank you, unconscious self. It's like this in my soul today. You take that letter. It's a message. It's a letter from you to you. It's a letter from your inner child of the past. Your inner child of the past is sending you a letter. Don't you want to read a letter from your soul? So you get the letter, thank you, soul. And the soul is saying, it's like this in your soul today, in our soul today. Thank you. It's like this in my soul today. Okay, give the dream, TTAQ, give the dream a title. T, the second T is for theme, A for affect, Q for question. Try to figure out what kind of question you think your soul is asking you, TTAQ. And for your soul here, just unpack it a bit, just see what comes to mind. Take that dream. What does this dream remind me of? What does it suggest to me? Um, what thoughts come to me with this dream? And when the feeling comes up, likewise, validate your feelings like that. Now remember with dreams, it's very kind of coded like that. And in the dreams, you got to keep in mind it's a different world with the dreams. The dreams are condensation. A feeling for the mother could be onto a benign classmate. How did that happen? Well, because it's safer. You're not ready to feel the feeling with the mother, so you put it onto the classmate. It kind of holds it a bit for you. So you keep these kind of things in mind, that there's kind of displacement and condensation. Like the thing about timelessness with dreams is that you may get a dream snippet, and it's a condensation of something from your childhood, something from a month ago, something you saw on TV yesterday, and it puts it all together because no time you can put it in. So it's trying to help you to feel what you're trying to feel. It's trying to let you know where you're blocked in the area of feelings. If you're compensating, well, then you know your psychic structure a little bit about your unconscious wish fulfillment fantasies to keep your stasis like that. Um, just keep it simple. What comes to mind with that dream snippet? Okay, so that's unconscious to conscious. We got to live in these two worlds. Just as the duck can swim and fly, he can live in those other worlds. We got to live in these three worlds: unconscious, land, air, conscious. We got to bring it up to the light and air, light, conscious, bright, sun, dark, moon, sun, okay, night, day, moon, sun. We got to live in these worlds. Okay, now, associated with the spirit of the duck is the spirit of the rabbit, because the rabbit is code for the trickster energy, i.e., code for defense mechanisms. So we got to study defense mechanisms: projection, projective identification, okay, reaction formation, okay, the Faustian identification with the aggressor, displacement, denial, sublimation, I guess. Okay, so just work in this area of the studying defense mechanisms. These are operations of the mind, maneuvers of the mind that the child engages in to manage, to adapt, to manage to an abusive mother. The mother is misattuned, malattuned, not emotionally available. She's trapped in her mirror. She's not present enough to be. How does the baby cope with this? He's in pain. And now he's got to go to the mother for soothing, but the mother's hurting him. Double bind. How does the baby cope with the double bind? Okay, so you study this kind of area, the tricksteriness. So each of the major defense mechanisms we cover in our collection. There's only about a dozen of them. It's not that many, right? Or maybe in the future we'll identify more. Maybe that's what we're missing. Maybe we're not articulating other defense mechanisms. Maybe we're still kind of blind to really what's going on in the mind to deal with the pain with the shaming mother. The mother is shaming the baby because she doesn't remember that she had been shamed. She's trying to remember that she had been shamed. So that's another one. Another defense is repetition compulsion. When we repeat, we're trying to remember. When we remember, we can stop repeating. So we're trying to remember. The positive intention, one of the positive intentions of repeating is it's part of this innate drive for healing, to make us conscious. When we repeat, it's trying to make us conscious. Then you stop repeating. Okay, I guess those are sort of the core, as I understand it for the time being, the core sort of tasks. Okay, both and, seeds, someday, do's, couple imprint, and for self and parents' story, earliest memories, their humor, and there's more. There's definitely more. And that just communicates that you're trying to piece together the story to now know what you couldn't back then. That communicates to you that you're willing to get back your feelings. You got to cognitively know now. That sets it up, sets the stage, that and it communicates to you that you want your feelings back. You want the firebird to come up, and now you get back your feelings and your beingness. The image is the firebird. You have the vibrancy of the firebird, the flames, the reds and the oranges and the yellows, the vibrant, the fire, your feelings are going to come alive again. Remember with trauma, the pin goes on the collar, we feel like the velveteen rabbit, not fully real and alive and stuff like that, numb and stuff like that. So you want to feel alive again with the firebird. That's quite a good image, the firebird. Sometimes the phoenix. I think the firebird's a good one, yeah. Oh yeah, so we were talking about the distinct personality patterns. The commonalities, they're trapped in the mirror, um, just survival slogans, survival anxiety. Therefore, they don't feel or free to associate or care about others. Others are just things to serve them. They're cynical, of course, because others are their own soul, which they gotta disparage because mother disparaged them, and they become the disparager, the envier, and they're trapped in that mirror like that, waiting for mirroring. Trauma post 18 months, that's a huge development for a child. Yeah, I'm thinking about that birthing. I saw this. It was very easy. Baby came out very smoothly. She just she just paused, just leaned a little bit forward on the husband like that. The midwife was behind to catch the baby. She caught the baby, just handed the baby, left the cord, just delivered the baby to the mother on the front, and she held it. But a little scared me because she didn't hold the neck properly. The mother, the baby's, Jesus, the baby's lucky because he didn't get birth trauma. But I'm wondering, why didn't the mother have the instinct to like hold the head? The head was lopping a little bit, and she didn't give the baby the skin to skin. It wasn't cold or anything. It was a summer day and all that, right? Oh, the weather can give us a clue, right? So that must have been in a warmer place. But that would have been ideal, I think. That when the midwife handed the baby, she left the cord, the placenta, right? Um, so the cord's there. It's kind of bluish. You could see it, right? And ideally, the mother would have, uh, you know, undressed the front and placed the baby onto the bosom like that, and her clothing over the baby, hold the baby, press the skin to skin gently. But she was holding the baby um, onto the clothing. So now the baby thinks, wait a minute, where are the bonding hormones? I don't smell the bonding hormones because she's got clothing. Now, underneath the clothing, there's the bonding hormones, but the clothing blocks it. The baby's smelling synthetic fibers or perfumes on the clothing, laundry detergent or something. So that's most likely the baby can't access the oxytocin there, unless very quickly she goes inside and corrects everything. We don't know what happened afterwards. The video ended. It's just like a 1 minute clip kind of thing. But ideally, who cares if somebody's filming? Just let the baby be placed directly onto the mother's skin, onto the front, and let the baby look for the nipple and start suckling. And hold the baby without the neck kind of tilting too much like that. And it's funny because when that happened, she was kind of like joking with some people in the distance. She was having some kind of conversation with others. So she wasn't even like fully present for the baby. Mother, you're kind of ignoring me here. You're not holding the neck properly. Where are the hormones? Mother, what's going on here? Why are you so indifferent to me? Why is this some kind of big joke? Why are you laughing at me? Are you laughing at me? Baby doesn't know. Baby's very sensitive like that. Okay, let's say the baby does have a hard time afterwards. At the very least, he'll be good at athletics, music, dancing. He'll have good coordination. He'll be physically good. He'll be physically very healthy in his physicality like that. Unless there's so much, even if there is stress with the relationship with the mother, it won't undo the strength that the baby got by not being birth traumatized. So let's say he becomes narcissistic or something with the mother, but he'll be athletic. He can run the marathon, but he might be not a very nice person. He might neglect. The mother seemed a little bit. She was acting kind of cool. Yeah, look at that, man. Yeah, it's nothing. I can handle it. Maybe the kid will be like that a little bit. But let's give her a lot of credit. That's a huge accomplishment to get a baby out with no birth trauma. That's a huge accomplishment. That's a major one. My goodness. So the baby's needs were met in the uterus. The baby's needs were met in the delivery time. And the part three is the extended uterus from birth to 4 to 5 months. Can the mother establish that? From what I saw at the beginning of the clip, when I saw that clip, it looks like well, we don't know. We can't tell. But ideally, the mother would provide a blissful oneness with the baby and recreate the intimacy that the baby had inside on the outside. That's with the skin to skin, natural feeding, and loving gaze, and holding in safety like that. And don't separate the baby. Leave the core, leave the placenta. One good thing for the baby is it's probably going to take some time. If they were going to remove the core and the placenta, it's going to probably have to take some time for that. So the baby has the continuity of the core and the placenta. Yeah, that's true. Even though the baby's on the clothing like that, he still has the core and the placenta. So he's still grounded to the mother through the core and the placenta like that. Yeah, so he's got that benefit. Maybe the mother's easygoing attitude helped her to feel relaxed to allow natural delivery. Maybe got the benefit of that. I forgot the name of the website. The website that posted that clip, their pinned video was the pet dog with the playing like a housewife, doing the household chores. And they played 9 to 5 in the back, the song 9 to 5 in the background, and the dog was doing the laundry and knew how to turn on the washing machine, would pick do a few little. Well, the dog was obviously trained to do these little things, like a game or something. It looked pretty. It's quite impressive. Yeah. So they had the clothes scattered all over the place. The dog picked up everything, put it in a basket. Sure enough, dragged the basket to the washing machine, opened the door, and pulled everything into the washing machine and pressed the thing on. The dog could do all that, right? And they're playing 9 to 5 in the background about the working the 9 to 5 job, right? So they treated the dog as if he were like a housewife or something. What else did he do? And a couple of other similar kind of thing, household kind of things. How are we doing here? Maybe I can take a little. Yeah, let's bring up the music and take a small musical break here. Hold on a sec. Get the battery still working. Here's a cover of Here's a cover of a Deliristics. Here's a cover of a Carry On, Wayward Son by the singer Deliristic from Brazil. As you. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So rose above the noise and confusion. Things that get a glance beyond this illusion. I was soaring ever higher, but I feel too high. Though my eyes could see, I still was a blind man. Though my mind could think, I still was a madman. I hear the voices when I'm dreaming. I can hear they say, carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are gone. Then you really have to rest. Don't you cry no more. Masquerading as a man with a reason. Masquerading the event of the season. And if I claim to be a wise man, well, it sure means that I can move. The storm and see a move in motion. Toss a bottle like a sheep on the ocean. Okay. Maybe what I'll do is let's go back to the regular spot and see if I can continue over there. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Finally. Okay. So let's carry on, wayward sons and daughters. Okay, let's do part three of the as if personality. So as mentioned before, parts one and parts two were covered. Excellent discussion, I thought. Let's see how this one goes here with part three. So again, the as-if personality is a thing that Miss Helen Deutsch started back in 1942 in a very famous essay of hers, simply entitled "The As-if Personality." And I'm kind of temporarily calling it the decoy feelings. So the child had all these feelings, mother shamed it. Baby says to himself, "Mother's going to shame my feelings all the time. Let me present as-if feelings for her to attack to protect my real ones." Um, that's not the totally accurate, but um, so the baby has transient identifications. Okay, the baby didn't get a chance to internalize the mother because he's too busy mirroring the mother. He's a um, premature adult. "I'm going to mirror you, mother. What do you want, mother? What do you expect of me? What role do you want me to play? I'll be that. I'll do what you want, mother. I'll mirror you." So he has this capacity to mirror the mother, but he never had the experience of internalizing the mother. So he feels empty. He never got memories of mother loving the child. The child just in that mode of mirroring. The roles are flipped somehow. If that's the case, they go through life with constant transient identifications where being what everybody wants. So they can be very good salespeople, for example, or very good. Um, they have a short, fleeting, superficial, shallow relationships, but everyone likes them because they always know how to intuitively pick up um, what others want to hear, and they'll say it, and everyone feels like they're one like that. But there's no intimacy, so there won't be any close relationship. Nothing will stick emotionally. But so they're very good. My guess is maybe they're good social butterflies at the cocktail party. They'll please everybody with charming comments, and everyone likes them like that. Um, but you never know who they are really. Like there's no real sort of inner identity on their end. They're just too busy. "I'll say what you want. I'll say what you want. I'll say what you want. I'm a good pretender. I'm a pretender. I'm a pretender." They're very good pretenders. So we played the song, one of the songs by the band Pretenders for this topic. Okay, so it's not the schizoid because the schizoids were structured. They're just like a shell like that, leave me alone kind of, but they're structured. They don't even want to people. They don't avoid people usually, the schizoids. Um, Sherman and Cohen, yesterday's quote, they call it the quiet BPD. That's too It's like an oxymoron. The BPD is usually hysterical, soap opera, dramatic, short-term, intense, excited relationships. Um, so the quiet BPD, it doesn't quite. Um, the commonality is that it's called identity diffusion. A lot of BPDs may fuse with others. They're so dramatic like that. Who are they, kind of thing. So there may be some commonality of the quick, short-term, intense identity diffusion, but they call it a quiet BPD. But when you say BPD, you always think about the dramatic soap opera stuff. So it doesn't feel quite right. It's kind of like when people say healthy narcissism. Oh, come on, narcissism. Um, we know it's egocentricity. It's all about them, their self. They don't care about you. Who cares about you? Healthy narcissism. We get ultimately what you mean by that phrase. Just like I get ultimately what they mean by quiet BPD, but it just has such a jarring effect. It doesn't quite work. So it's not schizoid. Okay, let's just say for the time being, it's not the quiet BPD. Now, when you say false self, the problem is the false self implies the existence of a real self which you're protecting, but they don't have the real self. It hasn't consolidated. They don't have the real self yet. So the false self implies the real self, but the as-if personality implies no real self. Um, their only sense of self is transient, temporary, illusionary identifications of being other people all the time. So they have no real self to protect. Uh, Now, pop culture in modern times uses the phrase imposter syndrome. Now, if what they mean by that is, um, as I understand it, one version of it is, well, you got a promotion, you feel like an imposter. I don't deserve this job. But maybe you got the promotion for other reasons, and you don't feel you're qualified for it. So you feel like a fraud or an imposter or a pretender. If that's what they mean, if that's what pop culture means by the imposter syndrome, no, this is not it. This as a personality is not the imposter syndrome. But as a personalities, they do feel like constant imposters and pretenders. But the imposter syndrome in pop culture is like with employment or something. I don't deserve this job. It's fake here. I'm not a real leader or something like that. Oh, finally, things are. Here's the most comfortable spot right here. Got nice scenery. Got the cherry blossom. I got the imposter cherry. I got imposter cherry blossoms. It's not real, obviously. It never falls. It's just year round. Never falls. Um, and I decided not to bring parts 1 and 2 because I spent a lot of time on it already, and I want to kind of need push myself to move forward because I got the backlog I was talking about. Okay, so here's part 3. So they're considered shallow. They're considered empty. They might be charming like that. They might, in terms of children, parents will say, "Oh, he's the perfect child. Look at that. He takes care of me. Look at this little kid here. He's like a super adult who takes care of me." The parent loves this. The parent is so proud that their little child can take care of them like an adult. It's a pseudo adult. They give up identity. They give up their own authentic self like that. They're just chameleon like because they pick up what you want them to be, and they are that. And some parents like that because that's mirroring for them. So this back to mirroring. There appears to be general agreement. There appears to be general agreement that there is a fixation at the level of imitativeness. Imitated, yeah, they're good imitators, they're good pretenders, transient identifications, coinciding originally with the stage of primary identification and taking more active form during the period between 2 and 3 years of age when the child is so superb a mimic. Why in certain cases is there arrested development at this level when multiple identifications rule? Affect is relatively shallow. Self and object are poorly differentiated. There's identity diffusion. Like they fuse with you and they're you. Identity diffusion. Object constancy is not yet established. Yeah, so they're still empty inside. There's no memory of mother soothing them, no memory of mother's presence, no positive memories of the mother inside. Object constancy, not yet established. Reality testing too basic. Um, Yet reality testing progresses to a level which avoids the eventuality of psychosis, and the defensive functions of the ego remain too rudimentary to eventuate in neurosis. So they're never psychotic. So that's not it. They're not schizoid. They're not psychotic. They're not BPD, let's say. And it's not just some persona that they have. Recently, one guy proposed that there is a substructure of the ego which he designates as reality constancy, which can mature to a high degree while object constancy does not develop. Okay, this is a split here, right? Your ego understands reality. You can pay the bills. You can drive a car. Your ego recognizes the outer world like that. But your emotional life is undeveloped. But your practical living material, Your ego understands material life. So you're not psychotic in your daily life like that, but you feel empty inside, so it's split like that. I wonder whether in such instances, under the rubric of which falls the as if personality, there is not enormous cathexis of reality in the form of material, non-human environment, while object cathexis is lacking. So your energy is devoted to the physical world, but your energy isn't devoted to any bond with a loving mother inside. The unequivocal case of as if personality, which I have treated, reveals this dichotomy to a striking degree. Okay, so Mr. Ross here thinks they're excellent in the material world, but they always feel empty, basically. So how does that happen? The as if personality. Such clients invariably show a history of maternal deprivation in the form of indifference or smothering, narcissistic possessiveness. So either the mother ignores them or smothers them. Um, One author, Martin James, has described, not the other one, Martin, another one. Somebody named Martin James has described an infant who was neglected by her mother and cared for by a nurse on a rigid schedule. This child, within the first 3 months of her life, displayed what the author calls premature ego development. This baby was always hungry, restless, showed unusual alertness to sounds, and at 8 months showed a degree of appealingness, which he believes was evident of object hunger, love hunger. He postulates that such infants have to take over the functions of the mother in a non-phase specific way. They reveal pseudo-sublimations of an impaired sense of identity and fluidity of identifications. So that means um, they can be 20 people in 1 hour, all different people. They talk to person A, they are what that person wants them to be. They talk to person B, click, they are what that person wants them to be. Like, and so on down the line. It's very fluid like that. So they're masters at this kind of thing. They're master mimickers like that. They're not mimicking. They're they're asking other people, what do you need? What role do you want me to play for you? What makes you feel important? What gives you narcissistic pride? What makes you feel happy? Like what role should I play? What should I say? What should I be? Whereby you feel narcissistic gratification in my presence. I want to please you like that. Well, it's not like I want to please you. It's like um, I want to mirror you because still in the place of mirroring my mother. And I believe in the repetition compulsion. They can spend their whole lives mirroring everybody. They never get seen by their mother. Although they can see everybody, they themselves have never been seen. Um, where are we here? Yeah, I'm just thinking about another thing. Okay. They reveal, oh, sorry, next one. At 5, at the age of 5, unusual, she showed an unusual capacity to take over the mannerisms, accents, postures, and interests of other children. So this child can perfectly mimic their posture, their interests, how they sound, their gestures and manners of the other children. Such behavior was a substitute for object relations. Yeah, because there's no connection to the mother, they just mimic everybody, kind of thing. Such an eventuality arises from the flooding and hypercathexis of memory at the perceptual end of the psychic apparatus in the absence of the capacity for discharge. Okay, so since there's no love, all your energy goes to this. The traumatic flood of images threatens to organize into thoughts, even though secondary process is not possible at so early an age. Okay, the child's flooded. Okay, oops. So guys, take it. Hold a sec. Okay, next one. Where? Oh, let's cover that menu there. The progress from perception to motility is disturbed. Perception. Thoughts tend to be regarded as realities, and there is diminished cathexis of both the infants and the mother's body. So they don't feel real anymore, they feel empty. Same idea, okay. Thoughts, his penetrating analysis of the causes and consequences of such premature ego development gives us clues to the meaning of the deficient affectivity and the empty verbalization of as if person. Okay, so when they talk and all that, it's empty because there's no feelings. So they're always shallow, they're hollow, they're shallow. They say everything perfect that you want to hear, um, but you always feel like something's hollow and you don't have the real emotions. There's like maybe like they might be charming and delightful and funny or whatever, or um, but don't expect like a continuous connection like that. They're just looping around this transient identity diffusion. So they could be perfectly charming all the time. They probably need to. And one quote was, they need that kind of external social butterfly type of thing. So they're not schizoid like that, and they're not. And it's not just a mask to protect some authentic self. It's a greater degree where they don't feel any link to an authentic self. So they're more dependent on this. Whereas somebody with the false self, maybe he can feel that he's protecting true self, and there may be times when he can be in touch with his true self or something. But the as if one, he has a hyper ego development in the external world, but a lack of emotional investment with to the mother, which means to himself. Things are still blurred and fused. See, when things are still symbiotic like that, that's why he can pick up cues, because he's symbiotic all the time. He picks up, he's hypersensitive. He can pick up what people want to hear like that, because he has that fusional kind of quality. Identity diffusion, fusion, symbiosis, fusion, merging. So something about how is it that the ego can be so skillful in the material world, but so deficient and hollow in the emotional world. Rinsley tries to address this, where his take on it is that the mother simply says, "All right, baby, I'll support you in the material world, um, only on the condition you never leave me, you never separate from me, you're one with me, fused, identity fusion with me. I'll support your schooling and all that. You can get 10 PhDs, but you still got to be tied to me. You can't leave me emotionally. He thinks in those kind of so the famous ego split, unconscious ego, one with the mother, conscious reality testing ego split like that. Just as the as if personality suffers from little anxiety because he can always submerge himself in an immediate object, so is he singularly lacking in that kind of anxiety which we designate as guilt, because this requires a process of internalization which he hasn't undergone. So he doesn't feel guilty for not saving the mother because he doesn't really have a connection with the mother. So he thinks this one here is you won't see people with that. Now, we're not saying everybody who doesn't show anxiety has an as-if personality. That's nonsense. But people with the as-if personality generally don't show anxiety because they're one with the other person. And so there's no guilt because guilt means you failed your mother. But you haven't reached that place of failing your mother because you never got a mother. You're too busy mirroring everybody, waiting for mother. Okay, when we talk about the schizoid, in schizoid personalities, the range of feelings is limited to hostility, coldness, hurt, shame. This points to the existence of uninhibited, aggressive, self-directed discharge processes. Okay, so the difference between the schizoid, they're just seething with cold anger like that. The as if one, they're not there yet. They have no mother to be angry at yet. Yeah, schizoids have a mother, um, but they're angry at her. They need her, but they're angry at her, and they're very angry with her. They have fears of engulfment of her, fears of abandonment with her, but the as if didn't get that. Didn't get any mother to be afraid of her, worried about. Anxiety without affect is affectless. Is affectlessness. Is affectlessness simply a state of the arrest of ego development, or does it, in addition, constitute a defensive barrier at the expense of ego maturation? Okay, now we're getting to philosophical here. Some people say some people don't show anxiety because the whole body is a block of anxiety. It's just blocked. So it's the character armor or somatization like that. So it doesn't leak out like that. The body's holding it all or something. That's an interesting topic about why some people. What does it mean? People are healthy, they won't show anxiety necessarily, but people may be unhealthy, but they still don't show anxiety. Oh boy, that'd be a huge topic, a huge book on that one. My God, you can summarize the whole issue of psychoanalysis just if you can answer that question, right? One person called the as-if personality a little bit shifty. Shifty, right? Switching, shifty, changing. Not shifty, or do they mean shifty like deceptive? Are they deceptive? Did they mean it that way? He has it in quotes here. Oh, sorry. Hang on. A subtype of the as-if personality might be called shifty. Okay, so the regular cookie cutter as-if, it's what we've been talking about, but there may be a branch of it where they are a little criminalic because they have that skill to pick up things. So they might be very good con people or something like that. The as if personality appears normal on the outside, as it were, but eventually, under certain circumstances, reveals the inner affective deadness or inauthenticity of the psychotic. And so emotionally, there's an emotional deadness, right? There's inauthenticity, like how the psychotic has it. But they're not psychotic. But inwardly, they might be psychotic. In the emotional realm, they might be emotionally psychotic in terms of emotional quote unquote deadness inside. That's why they're hollow and shallow, right? The aliveness of having emotions is with the beingness. But to get the beingness, you gotta relate to a mother. But they never really related to a mother. They're just too busy trying to be a pseudo adult for the mother, and the mother's the baby, and this child is the parent. That's yesterday's quote. That they look like little adults. They look like super advanced genius adults. They're only 2.5 years old, but they look like master salespeople or something. They're so skillful like that, and the parents are proud of this. Oh, my kid is so a genius or something. But they feel empty inside. They feel hollow inside, and one branch, and then they may end up being shifty, quote unquote shifty. Another branch of the shifty might be a sub branch of the sub branch, a sub branch of the sub. Right, that might be the now maybe there's a threat to the whole psychopathic area. I don't know. We don't have any quotes in that area. Okay, the example given was some famous movie producer or something. Um, well, he says it himself. So some famous movie producer said of himself, a guy named John Huston, in his autobiography, he wrote himself, assuming he wrote it himself or he approved the ghostwriter writing it. I don't know. Let's just say he said it himself. So here's a famous movie producer who can act in many films and star in many films like that. Oh yeah, another thing about this, these identities of the as if when they pretend to be other people, identity diffusion. I'm going to be you, we're going to be one. I'll be you, we're one. When they mirror other people, they never internalize that other person. They never use that as an opportunity to to claim those traits of the other people for themselves, or internalize those people for themselves, or remember them inwardly for themselves. They never benefit from these identifications. Right? So that's why they're always empty. They never take in these people like that. So enter the Twilight Zone episode entitled "The Trouble with Templeton." He spent his life as a state Broadway theater guy, and every year he played the lead in a play, and he did it for 30 plus years. But he never learned or absorbed the character he was role playing. He was the same grumpy, empty, uh, lonely guy, filled with ennui. He was Mr. Ennui. He felt an immense sense of ennui and pathological nostalgia, wanting the good old days of the past, kind of thing. He was bored all the time. A wealthy man, but bored at the same time. So yesterday's quote was about the way stations. They never take these transient identifications as way stations to absorb in um, the benefits of playing that character, or using the idea of playing that character to help you get in touch with those traits in yourself that you're pretending to be in someone else. So it's just always transient identifications. No, I won't take it. I'll pretend to be it. It'll be dreamy. Forget it. Dream the next one. Forget it. They never learn or internalize on these identifications. So this actor slash producer, I think he's sort of saying, oh, this is the author. This is their example here. Quote: My life is composed. My life is composed of random, tangential, disparate episodes. Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of wives. Yeah, a bunch of uh, who knows how many girlfriends. Some memorable, uh, some more memorable than others. I've done it all. I've gambled all the time. I collected horse racing all the time. I would he go duck hunting all the time. That's a clue. There's a problem right there. Why would someone do that? Yeah, I collected things, painting, boxing, Writing, directing, and acting in more than 60 films. He acted in more than 60 films, according to this. But I fail to see any continuity in my work from film to film. What's remarkable is how different the pictures are from one another. Nor can I find any thread of consistency in my marriages. No one of my wives has been no one of my wives has been remotely like any of the others. Uh, one wife was gentle, one wife was femme fatale, another wife was a schoolgirl type or something. So he just had these like choppy little kind of things all the time. Nothing. He never grew from anything. He never felt anything. So this is the pearls with no necklace. So this guy's life might be described based on yesterday's quote: the pearl, lots of pearls, but no necklace, no continuity of identity. So that means there's no meaning. He's going to lack meaning in life. Without feeling, there's not going to be meaning. There won't be a heart-informed living. There won't be meaning because you need identity to have meaning. When you express your real self, that's called meaning. He doesn't have the real self, so there's no meaning. Yes, he's got all these exciting experiences, but they're just little blips all the time. Just a bunch of blips in his life, but no continuity of meaning, no continuity of identity, no continuity of an authentic self. So he was just shallow all the time. I think I saw one of his films, the, the, the Maltese Falcon or something. Okay, so Ross quoted a guy named Holland who quoted this quote. Maybe another one might be now we can play Charlene's song, I've Never Been to Me. Charlene, I've Never Been to Me. Yeah, maybe it fits in there. So it's about a retired playgirl. She spent her whole life as a Donna Juana. She's been everywhere, but never been to me. She had all these escapades and all these, she went to all these luxurious places she calls paradise. I've been to paradise, I've never been to me. I've been to luxurious islands and resorts, but I've never been to me. So she said to a young lady, uh, don't be a playgirl like me. It's meaningless, it's empty. Yeah, today's a bit of a break in terms of traffic. It's kind of busy the past little while. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, it's 5:40 already. You're kidding, 5:40. I've only got like 20 minutes of light, basically, right? The construction outside might be finished by now, right? I just finish up here. I was thinking to play some music. I'm thinking maybe I should be playing music in the lobbies here like this. I just play one or two songs, but still, I don't want to push my luck. But the song I was trying to play before was a cover of "Carry On, Wayward Son." Get a glimpse beyond this illusion. I forgot the lyrics. Yeah, let's look up the lyrics for next time. There's some good lyrics in there, right? Um, Carry on, wayward son. Oh yeah, okay. And now you no longer feel empty. Carry on with yourself, with your know thyself efforts. and then you'll no longer feel empty, and life is waiting for you now. Yeah, that was the conclusion, right? Carry on trying to learn about yourself, um, and then you no longer feel empty. Then life begins, and life's been waiting for you once you get your beingness back. So this Mr. Houston guy doesn't sound like. So it sounds like he had ennui as well, right? He did it all, been there, did that, did everything. Okay, produced and starred in hundreds of films, filled with ennui. Yeah. So back to Templeton, the story about Templeton. Yeah, he had it all. That guy, right? Templeton. He did an interesting thing, Mr. Templeton. He set it up, I think, that when he engaged in pathological nostalgia and had a bit of a psychotic break where he went back to the past, to the good old days, um, he scripted it for himself that his wife and friend would tell him, "You don't belong here. You belong in the present. Don't stay here." But he wrote that for himself to give to the wife and friend, so he could tell himself through them, "No, you don't belong here. Get out. Go to the present. Don't end up with dementia or schizophrenia, and where you're dreaming in the past, don't know where you are anymore, and you're in this dreamy place of pathological nostalgia. And you're somewhere else. You don't belong here. You belong in the present." But Miss Templeton had a stress in his life, getting older, health issues. His new boss was sort of a pedantic, cruel, verbally abusive kind of character. So you take the stress of the present. He doesn't want to deal with this arrogant new supervisor. He's an older guy. Plus, seeing one of his trophy wives playing with the pool boy or something, whatever it was. Um, that those two combinations made him want to go to the past, where he could be the pool boy, with his wife, real wife, in the past. But he scripted it for his ex-wife and his good friend back then. "You don't belong here. Get out of here. We don't want you. Don't stay here. You'll That'll mean you'll be on the bed and you'll be in schizophrenia land. No, no. Go to the present. Go to the present. Go to the present." They booted him out like that. He did it for himself. He gave that script to the ghosts, to his own memories of them, and wanted those ghosts to say that to him, basically. So sure enough, as he was leaving the past, um, they did a very good, interesting. They did a very interesting uh, uh, special effect. They froze the scene, meaning the viewer really gets the message. The past is over. The past is done with. You can't go back to the past. The past really is over. He wanted to go to the past. No, the past is over. So you saw that effect, that emotional effect. That was a good little thing they did like that. So then he could live in the present. Okay. A similar theme is The Happy Days, season 11, episode 14, entitled "The Spirit is Willing," about the Fonz character buying a haunted car of the past. And in that haunted car was a pretty girl in there, and her psyche went into his mind. So he dreamed that he was in the past with this pretty girl, dwelling in the past. He was also in schizophrenia land, seeing things that no one else could see. They said, "No, okay, that past is over. I got to be in the present here. The past is the past. Face the problem." Now, when there's problems in your present, one way to deal with the pain of making a decision, admitting that you're getting older, having to decide something that's painful to admit. One way to avoid this is to go back like that. Um, but it's dangerous to have a psychotic break where you're living in the past, like that. It's kind of like a, it's kind of like it's kind of like the day version of sleeping at night when you dream something. You don't want that kind of thing. When you're awake, you want to be in secondary mentation, and the unconscious is not there. Now, when you sleep, yes, you go in the unconscious mentation, and you do your dreaming like that. You don't want to do any of your that kind of deep dreaming when you're awake like that, and you're schizophrenic because it's psychotic stuff. So that was a great idea. That was a very good idea for a Twilight Zone episode called "The Trouble with Templeton." My qualm with it is the actor was a little too pretentious and pompous to relate to. It was a little unbelievable and unrelatable like that. But the idea was pretty good. Let's see what's coming up. Okay, so this pretty much concludes our topic on the as-if personality.